All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over one championship. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, Misfits Boxing and BKFC, whole bunch of combat sports from this past week. And to do all of that with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend. To know him is to love him, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, brother?
We are good. We had fights on Saturday that we are going to definitely talk about. I will not spoil anything about my feelings towards them yet, but there was combat sports. We did enjoy some of them, not all of them. But there's some touching points that we are going to get into, and I think I'm really excited to talk about some stuff for sure.
Absolutely, yes. There was a ton over the between Friday and Saturday. There was a lot of I mean, if call them combat sports, I guess you have to for all of it. Of course, it is, but some more legitimate than others, perhaps. So I guess the way that we're going to do this one, we're not going to go over every single fight on these cards like we normally do. Of course, on this show, that's generally how we operate. But we've got so many different cards and so many different fights to talk about that we're just going to kind of do overviews of these cards and kind of pick out the things from each that make the most sense to talk about. And nicely, in a weird way, it all kind of bookends because we have one championship that sort of started everything off. I watched BKFC at the end of all of this, so we kind of bookend what I would say is the weaker content with some legitimate fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the one point that I brought up to you before the call, we'll talk about it first because I do think it is an important thing to know. And I made this specific point in the Discord, whatever day that PFL was going on. All right. The topic
Yes.
that we have to get into real quick. And by real quick, I mean, because nobody in the world watched it, because for some reason, like even when there's no UFC, people would rather watch nothing and or boxing over PFL. And isn't that a major issue in mixed martial arts promotions right now? One is a viable option. I think, Fridays it has its place. Friday mornings, what else is going on other than one? It has its moment. But it's like PFL happened. I can't even recall what day it was. It was probably Friday or midday Saturday, who knows? But the fact is nobody wanted to watch it. Like I have so many people in the Discord who will watch any amount of combat sports, whatever combat sports are on. They will watch Muay Thai, submission grappling, karate combat, boxing, boxing, bare knuckle, dirty boxing, but nobody takes time out of their day to watch the PFL, and it's a major flaw. And I want to see if you can tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, and we've talked about a little bit of why I think that is, because I do recognize that that is a reality in a lot of combat sports circles that, it's an afterthought to most with anything else in the way, it becomes an afterthought. And even when it's the only thing, perhaps it's people find something else to do. And I think that the real reason, if I had to specify one reason, I would say that it's because PFL sells a bill of goods that it cannot produce. It tries to masquerade as this world-class promotion with high-level fights and all of the bells and whistles that go into a promotion that's top tier, but it does not deliver on that promise. And especially because if you happen to know, the PFL card that took place last weekend was the PFL Africa card. Now, of course, we can talk about some of the things with that Africa card, but the reason I bring that up is because PFL spread beyond the tournament system that, of course, is going away or has gone away. They have these regional promotions now, which is PFL Africa, PFL MENA, Europe. I think that's it for right now. But they're trying to expand and change the product around to, I guess, enhance the output or give you more fights. I don't know exactly what the end goal with all of it is, but I can tell you in the here and now, it's not producing a quality level that resonates with people. I think that that's the end of the story. It's like PFL has made itself into somewhat of a joke, and I don't say that to, like, I'm not trying to clown on them. I'm saying that this is the perception on the ground. This is the word on the street. Like, if you're saying that out of the people, and I know the kind of the people that you hang your circle a little bit, like that's a rabid fan base. Like, those guys will be out here trying to watch what they can. If they're not watching PFL, then they're obviously not getting a level of quality or perceived level of quality from PFL that they need to be getting in order for it to make it something that they would set an appointment to go watch.
Yeah, it's just absolutely insane to think about that. In mixed martial arts, there are so many different, avenues that we would choose to watch, and MMA specifically is one of the ones that a lot of us are driven to, but we would go out of our way not to watch it in the PFL. We would rather do nothing than to watch the PFL because in some way it's like it's tainting what I normally like as mixed martial arts. I don't know. Sometimes I'm watching it and I'm like, how is this the second tier promotion? Like Jesus.
Well, and I think that yeah, shout out to the chat, of course, Beeb checking in and TJF as well. And I think TJF is making a good point here. He's saying it's the no names aspect of it. And what I think that to kind of backpack off of that, or piggyback off of it rather, I think that what it is that a lot of times, because we feel that the quality level of the overall presentation is not great, we'll wait. Like the word travels upward, like the cream rises to the top kind of thing. So we know about the Dakota Ditchovas, a couple other names perhaps that have come over to other promotions. Like, we will find out about their big names when there's a reason to find out about them. But until then, why sit through an entire card of whatever?
I now here's the actual problem. I agree with what you're saying, but the problem is also is the no names, right? People, if you're a diehard PFL fan, right, which there's probably none of those in the world, you would be like, no, we have names. What are you talking about? We have former UFC, guys and girls, whatever you want to say. But the point is, yeah, they were nobodies in the UFC. That doesn't make them a somebody in the PFL just because they reached the upper echelon. They normally weren't very good. It's like Alexander Romanov. It's like he's not a name. He's not anybody in the UFC. And he's known among meme land kind of deal between guys like me, King Kong. Like, dude, he's in the PFL doing whatever he can. It's like, yeah, that's a name to somebody because they know him in the UFC, but it's not known in the UFC rafters. It's just because he's in the PFL doesn't mean anything now. I don't know. It's just
Well,
weird.
no, yeah, that's definitely one version of it, is people that came from UFC over to PFL thereafter. Like, that's a pipeline that we've talked about a couple of times. It's not necessarily great for their promotion, but
Mhm.
really what I think that they're more trying to focus on now is homegrown talent. They want to have stars coming up through PFL, becoming bigger names for the organization without having been anywhere else, or any other major promotion. And it's just not happening quick enough for them, to be perfectly honest. Again, besides Dakota Ditcheva, who else can you name that's a major star being made in that organization? The ones that you can probably talk about are not ones that you necessarily can even name. There are a couple of Dagestanis over there, a couple of Habib's camp is over there doing some decent things. I think one of those guys won the tournament recently, but
Usman.
well, okay. I mean, so yeah, well, that's Bellator too. Still, I mean, like, yeah, and now you can count that as PFL, of course. But how much of Bellator's former talent left PFL? In a very public fashion. All of these things that we're talking about, like, they all feed into the same problem, I think.
I was also going to say they got the Irish fella too,
Oh,
Hughes,
Paul
right?
Hughes, yeah,
There
yeah,
you go.
definitely. Okay, so you can name a couple of them, perhaps, and
Yeah, they
maybe when those
fit
guys.
like they fit like right there.
Exactly. It fit in the palm of your hand. And when those guys fight, perhaps you get the a little bit of a bump off of that. But then aside from that, especially also with this new regional thing that they're doing with the Africa and Mina and all these others, none of that is being filtered into that. It's not carrying over in any meaningful way. So, you're seeing what you're seeing out of it.
Yeah, and TJF again. I actually don't know. I don't really know why I'd much rather watch that Peru card than PFL. It's like when PFL comes on and there's no UFC, it's like now it's time to get creative. Like now it's time to find some crazy promotion that has something going for it that that you'd find enjoyment in because for fact when you turn on the PFL, You're not getting it. You're not getting any of the fixes that you normally could get from the UFC, or in this case, from one. Like if you go to that Peru card, that's or whatever little regional kind of thing, it's pretty interesting going on. PFL, it's just like cookie cutter this, and it's not even the top of the promotion, or top of the top of the skill level kind of deal, and it just feels like they're trying too hard to be the UFC when they don't have the people that could be the UFC people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got every bell and whistle that you can possibly imagine with the smart cage and the ghost cam and all the graphics and the AI and all this shit. What about the actual quality of the fighting? The card that TJF is referencing, we did a watch along of FFC just
Yes.
recently, and that Peru card, and the overall production value not super high, but where there's some pretty good fights on it. Yeah, it was, and it's
Frankenstein.
yeah, right, sure, yes. And so I mean, like, the point is that, like, I feel like with what you okay, take what you know out of the PFL and then take the unknown of something like the FFC card. It's like I could get a couple of decent performances, maybe a finish on PFL. I don't know what I'm getting out of FFC. It could be an entire card full of finishes. It could be some of the craziest fighting you've ever seen. These guys are out here fighting for their lives, kind of thing, you know?
Mhm.
So like you weigh the options on that, and I really do think it like all of these things are the reasons that PFL like needs to have a come to Jesus moment. Like there needs to be like massive like a reimagining of how they present their product and what they are putting forth into the world, and how they're sourcing their talent as well. Because it's like if you think that the Africa and MENA and Europe, like those are supposed to be feeders to the main organization, and those cards aren't good. Because that's the other thing I wanted to mention since we're talking about it, is that I do know somebody who did watch the PFL card, said it wasn't great. So it's like you are having your feeder organizations that aren't even feeding up talent that's going to lead to better main cards on the big shows. So it's like, dude, there has to be an overhaul of PFL in some real way. Something needs to change, and I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, well, bankruptcy, it changes a lot of people.
Yeah, all of that Saudi money getting yanked from them, getting ripped out of their pockets. Perhaps that might be the thing that'll kick them into gear. But who knows? I mean, now some of their cards are going to be airing on Vice, which is an interesting development. With the UFC deal ending with ESPN, they're still going to be on ESPN, so ESPN will have some little MMA representation, but what does that do for them? I mean, all the MMA fans, like the real hardcore fans, are leaving ESPN with UFC. So, what does this mean for the future of PFL? It's certainly an interesting question right now.
Yeah, but I can tell you one thing is certain is I'm still not gonna watch it yet. Until I see the reason why I need to turn it on. You know, with the UFC, there was there's commotion. When you get on social media, you see highlights, you see a reason like, oh, I gotta tune into that. To be fair, it's look at Power Slap. For some reason, it's intriguing. You see somebody just get slapped and unconscious, and maybe it is the most watched thing ever for that aspect. People are intrigued by it. Nothing at the PFL is like intriguing enough. They, like you were talking about, they have the bells and whistles. They had the ref cam, but
True.
they didn't make the ref cam. Like they didn't make it anything. It's like, oh, the ref has a cam, but like they never showed the ref getting some sick highlight with it. Like
I
so.
think I think you're really, really cooking right now, actually. I think that this is a very good point. I think that what PFL needs to do is put their resources into their social media team. However, like exactly what you're saying, highlights, get things that are going to get the promotion talked about in a legitimate way. However, that also comes with actually having the highlights. You need to have the highlights in the first place. So I mean, like, make all of those things happen in sequence together. But again, I think that there's a bigger like systemic problem with them, because if the talent is not there, if the talent that you just bought from Bellator has all decided to leave except for a select handful of guys, where are you going to be sourcing these people? Where are you going to be getting these highlights? Like, how are you going to raise your own stock with the current landscape that you've created pretty much for yourself? Like, all of these things are by their own design. That's why it's amazing to me that they have gotten to where they've gotten to. But at the same time, all empires have the ability to fall, and we'll just have to see how long they can make this thing last.
Yeah, I'm curious because voice crack. I'm curious because they got to Africa to, to start whatever the word is, to get mixed martial arts in Africa, to get like the PI and shit like that.
Right.
They have their own version of it. They were the first to do that. I'm wondering if the UFC is just waiting to see how that goes. To just because clearly have the resources to put a PI anywhere in the world. They've always talked about going to certain places and having a show in Africa, or we're going to go to Spain. With Africa specifically, they could definitely put a PI if they really wanted to. They could do a lot of different things, but with the PFL being there, and I think they're just waiting patiently to see how that one pans out. And if it fails tragically, they can just swoop in and get it for a lot cheaper.
I
So
think you are exactly correct. I think you're 10,000% correct. I think that they are biding their time, waiting in the wings, and Dana will come out and tell you, he doesn't care about any of that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm not paying attention. I don't care about anything that anybody else does. Guarantee you that they got eyes on it. And the second that the liquidations start to happen and things start going a little bit more south for PFL, you take that PFL logo right off the building, you plant a UFC flag right on top of it, and then your assets become my assets, and see you later.
yeah, that'd be really, really funny if the Africa PI was just the building that was already there from the PFL. Like they built it and they just renovate it later. It's like,
I
no, we'll
mean,
just
changing some logos out ain't hard.
true, just slap some paint on it.
Absolutely. So, well, one thing, and the last thing, we'll move on from PFL. We've talked about PFL enough to start this thing, but the last thing I did want to mention is that because it was the Africa card, finally, their chairman, Francis Ngannou, showed up. How about that? After what? I think this is the third event now that they've done in Africa, and finally Francis was in the building. So, what do you
Well,
think?
what I think is the obvious point, right? So he gets slandered publicly by Dana, and now he's coming out here to have his, to finally do what he said he was going to do. Now he's finally living up to his word. Nobody else has been making the point though, other than specifically us on the podcast. Like, yo, and in the Discord. So maybe he's in the Discord too. Thinkerland, of course. Shout out.
Cheers.
He finally recognized that people were calling him out for not being a part of anything related to PFL Africa. So now he shows up. Now he shows up. Mate, listen, you been in town. You been around the corner. You ain't just been off and about. It ain't like you haven't had access to get to these events. Now all of a sudden, after people call you out for being a piece of shit publicly, now it's like, okay, maybe I should go fix my image, like I
This
don't
is
know.
very reminiscent of when Colby Covington was going after Jorge Masvidal, and then there was finally pictures of Jorge with his kids, and the caption was Colby really bullied Jorge into being a better father.
Yeah, oh my god.
Oh, good lord. Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly what it was or whatever. I mean, it certainly could have been some of the online conversation. Also, the fact that Francis is in contract negotiations now. Any number of different reasons. Take your pick. It is nice to see him at the thing that he was supposed to be at since the beginning, I guess, at this point. But is it too little, too late? I don't know.
Mate, this is crazy. Contract negotiations, and he's over here talking about the White House, which clearly is not going to fucking happen. But
Sure.
now he goes to the fucking PFL Africa event because in his mind, oh, I'm not going to be on the White House. Most likely not going to be on the White House, but it's an idea out in the world. But obviously going to keep my image for PFL because they're going to be stupid enough to give me another billion fucking whatever, and I'm going to just sit here and be the chairman of nothing for the rest of my life.
Yeah, the last point I will make about PFL based on what you just said there, if they re-sign Francis Ngannou, that will be one of the craziest things that I've ever seen in my life. Like after everything that they've been through with this guy, the pittance that they've gotten out of this guy based on the money that they put into him, for them to go back down that road to redig that hole even deeper would be an absolutely mind-blowing move on their part.
I think it would bode the question after what Dana White has recently said negotiations have looked like with Francis. Do you think Francis has an intimidation factor over PFL and is able to hold them up like this and say, "Give me my money"?
He's got Don Davis by the lapel. He's
Yeah, I
shaking him
mean,
out.
the money clips are falling out of this dude like you wouldn't even imagine. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ, he's got him 3 feet off the air and he's telling him, "Give me a plane to France right now," you know? So,
All will be revealed, I suppose, but we shall see. I'm just glad that he finally showed up for all of those young upcoming African fighters who are out here doing their thing, trying to get themselves, into a similar situation to him. He's an inspirational story, but he could be doing more to inspire these up and comers.
I think you guys should all just be aware now that Dana White has come out and said it. I don't even think it was necessarily all like 100% factual, but I think Dana, now that I'm believing what I'm saying here, and again, I'm delusional. Dana White, he's going to set up a Me Too movement here. Don Davis is going to come out and say, "Yeah, he was bullying me too, dude. Come on, dude." Like, and now all these other
Targeted
people are
campaign.
exactly, and now these all these other trickling promotions. You're going to get. I don't know, dude. This is going to be crazy. You guys don't even know.
Brewing scandals, perhaps. Well, all right. Well, enough about PFL. Before we move on, do want to shout out a couple other people. Davos checking in, CTE checking in as well. Appreciate you guys. Of course, we already shouted out Beeb and TJF. You guys
Yeah, but
are the men.
shout out CM Punk. We're getting a fucking comment. Like, what the
Oh,
hell?
well, true. Yeah. I mean, he's talking about CM Punk getting a second chance in the UFC. I mean, a little bit different circumstances, I would say. I mean, you could say that matching CM Punk up against a lesser opponent and Francis swindling PFL for, however many millions of dollars he's already gotten out of them and then getting it a second time. I see the connection, but I think that slightly apples and oranges. Both fruit,
Yeah,
though.
100%.
All right. Well, let's move on to the first combat sports event that we took in over these last couple of days, pre-weekend, but we'll wrap it into the weekend here. This was one Friday fight, 137. This was Taiwan Shai versus Liu Men Yang was the main event on this one. And of course, if you guys don't know, you probably heard us reference it a couple of times, but if you are not aware, Friday mornings, Chase Parton is out there in the trenches early morning with your coffee. You could be watching some really top quality fights, I would say. I mean, a lot of these fights, it's like you don't hear a lot about it outside of like the one sphere, but I guarantee you that you sit down and watch some of these one fights, they are really very good often. And these are like not even their main offering. This is like their secondary offering aside from the bigger cards that they put on throughout the year. And Chase is always there. So if you're wanting to check out what we're talking about here, go over to Chase Parton's stream and make sure that you're watching along with your boy.
Yeah, 100%. No, these are always awesome. And I don't know, again, just to give you more context. So, with these Friday morning, what I'm still gathering the information as I continue to follow along with one. What I'm finding out, the Lupini Stadium and Friday morning, this is your apex. This is your prelim guys.
Sure.
This is your guys that are making the names for themselves. This is their opportunity to make a name for themselves. And what I also love about one, and specifically Muay Thai when it comes to one, because most of the bouts in one are Muay Thai. There are some mixed martial arts, unfortunately, none on this card. But you'll often watch this, and again, these are prelim kind of guys. These are lower level, not even ranked guys, and you'll see them take shots that top level guys in the UFC are wincing at. Like Marab getting body shotted like 5 times in his championship fight, dude. You've never seen people take body shots like they do on one championship until you fucking watched it. Like these guys, they again, when I say they must have been doing it since they were, children, I mean, it's factual. Like, it's literally what they've been doing. So, there's a lot of people on this card that have been doing it since they were teenagers. And there's a lot of people who, there's specifically one where I don't think she has been, but we will talk about her in a second. But just really, really love these one cards. And in the morning, it's just such a different pace to get 4 hours in your morning. Like you said, you get a coffee, watch 4 hours of fights. You don't even have to watch 4 hours because what you understand is these are, again, prelim kind of guys, not really middle of the road before you get ranked. You could watch the bottom half of the prelims up until the main card, 2 hours, call it a day, then go on about work. If not, you got 2 hours after. If the time lines up, you get to watch the main card. It's all really the same skill level, the same. You're going to get the same level of enjoyment and an excitement out of all of these fights potentially. And I think that's just what's kind of different about these is when the UFC comes, you got your prelims, and for the non-casuals, that's where the bangers kind of, they flood in there kind of deal. But when when you get to certain fights, you know what you're going to get. When you get to Muay Thai, I mean, you could have two random guys from Thailand and they'll just put on a banger randomly in front of you. The best 9 minutes you've ever seen in your life. And then they just go on about their lives and then they'll be back in 3 weeks. Like it's just insane to think about.
Yeah, no, big facts, man. I mean, what I like to do if I can is I'll have the fights on, have your stream on, and then I'll kind of be getting some some work done that I can get done, and I'm back and forth a little bit. I mean, I'm just able to sort of glance over, and then there are times where you're seeing some crazy knockout stuff, and then between fights, you can get some other stuff done. It's just nice to be able to have fights going on around you, like while you're, what I mean? Because like all the time when we are doing our watch alongs for UFC or for other cards, it's like we're so locked into it, and of course we want to be. You want to be paying attention to all of the action as it's unfolding and everything. But like if you just want it in your atmosphere, it's almost like background music at times. Like you can kind of like focus in on it when you can. You can do other things, whatever. Like it gives you the option of having fights just on and around, and as much as I can be immersed in fights is what I want. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No. So there's a few that I do want to talk about though. Is there
Sure.
anything else before we jump into it?
No, I mean, you lead the way on this thing. I mean, I can just start scrolling down and you tell me where to stop or however you want to do this. Cause, I mean, there a lot of fights on this one, obviously. They always do pack these things pretty jam packed, full of fights. Yeah, so I mean, if you, however you want to
Gotcha.
go through this here.
So if you go to the third fight that happened all the way down at the
Sure.
bottom, it's the first female bout.
Yes. With the
It's
Regan Gowing.
Yes, so this one specifically brings up an interesting point, and I think I was flawed in my assumption here. So when you see people from other regions outside of Eastern Asia kind of deal, my assumption has been okay. They train Muay Thai, they've been over training Muay Thai, they've been the better ones of their region, and then they're like, okay, we need to send you over to Thailand. You got to get better by getting in tennis, you have to get better by facing better competition. That's what it is in Muay Thai and combat sports. You're only going to get better by facing a better opponent. I think she was sent here, or my assumption, presumably, she was sent here because she's really fucking good. She's getting the best training now, and she's going to be a killer here soon. She's out here competing with the best. I was mistaken. I was very, very mistaken. She was 36, 7 years old, whatever it was. Got her ass handed to her. It was like a first round finish. I'm pretty sure it was a second round finish. Gee, whatever you want to say, I was wrong here, and that's just the first thing that I wanted to know is Canada did not have the Muay Thai credentials that I thought she was going to have. We've seen people from Scotland, people from Iran. There was actually an Iranian on this card that actually did very, very well. There's a lot of just small. France has got some other ones. France has actually got a lot of decent ones. There's just a lot of these regions that have sprinkled in Muay Thai fighters, and you see reoccurring ones. Canada is not so prevalent, but I made an assumption and I was wrong, and now I will be fading the Canadians when it comes to Muay Thai for a little bit now until they prove me wrong, unfortunately.
Fair
But
enough. Yeah, this was a Regan Gowan was fighting Kenyarat Yuhango, and she was like 10 years younger, the winner of this fight from Thailand. So, I mean, obviously the age discrepancy. I don't know how long Regan specifically has been in Muay Thai, but not necessarily the greatest look to come out and get get your ass handed to you on the prelims, or the apex the one championship apex kind of
yeah,
situation. So understandable that you're kind of thinking that way. I don't know how that extends to all of Canada, but I mean, that could. I mean, like you're saying, if we've talked about the areas of the world that are still developing in certain sports, Canada, maybe just Muay Thai is not as prevalent.
yeah, 100%. And I also wanted to know, just specifically, so when it comes to one and the way that their the commentators are set up and the way that they announce fighters' names, it was not Kanya Rats. That is not her nickname. Is her name? That's where it says nickname. That's the one she went by and won was the Duong Dun Noi. So I don't know why this happens very commonly in one, but That is the name that I know her by. I also wanted to note the nickname for Regan Gowing was Coconuts.
Coconuts, gotta love it, dude. Shout out to Jake and the Neverland Pirates. That's some deep lore that only certain real ones will know.
Okay. Well, either way, moving on to the next fight, it's actually the one right after this. So
Yes.
Shimon Yashinari is probably one of my favorite fighters as of right now. And I'm not, he didn't come out here and he get like a lightning fast finish or anything like that. He's just a very good Muay Thai fighter. He's 21 years old. And when you see this guy, there's a better picture of him on the One Championship website, but when you see him, I've said this before, and you'll probably recognize the conversation when I start. He looks as if he is the bodyguard for like the yakuza boss. He's the one that they call in to do the. He like puts the cigarette out, and then he comes over and takes his jacket off. Type of dude. He's that level of a killer. Like when you see him, he's just got aura. Like there's no reason for him to just have the aura he does. And I'm telling you, Shimon Yoshinari, he's good, man.
Well, and so we're talking about Canada. I mean, Japan represented here, certainly in this fight, obviously, but a couple of times. And so, what's your perception of Japanese Muay Thai?
Japanese, when it comes to the Muay Thai, I've actually not gauged it per se. I can tell you this. The grappling of Japan, we've talked about this before. Japanese grappling, you can see it when it comes to the MMA in one and when they have their submission grappling bouts. They are decent when it comes to Muay Thai, but I normally am taking the Thai guys when it comes to Muay Thai. You got Japanese versus Thailand. I'm normally going Thailand unless it's the specific Japanese guys that I know, but they normally are they're pretty damn good. It's hard to count them out. That's why I haven't gauged them yet. We got a lot of Thai guys, we got a decent amount of Japanese guys, and they're listen. Yoshinari here, Shimon is one of my favorites. I'll tell you that. I'll
Yeah,
tell
so
you
I
that.
mean that's based on my experience with it, which is obviously much more limited than yours. But the what I have gathered is that we talk about like the levels that these countries are at as like regions, and if Canada is somewhere in the lower ranks, it would seem that Japan maybe is like upper mid. I would say
Th-
like it has a
they
couple of
got to be
really.
second when it comes
Oh,
to,
okay, then
yeah, no,
yeah, then
for
there you go.
sure.
Then even
Yeah,
higher than that, perhaps.
they would be second when it comes to Muay Thai right now, I would say, for
Okay.
sure.
Then
Uh,
excellent, good deal. Then, because I mean, yeah, obviously you get a couple of good guys that some people that are putting out some really good output, and then a smattering there underneath of various levels.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, Japan is really fucking good in this game. I'll tell you that.
All right, fair enough then.
The next fight that I wanted to talk about actually comes right after this.
Okay.
So Sirion Lek, this is an interesting guy because and this is again the point that I wanted to make. Like most of these fights, anybody could be main eventing these, and it not necessarily means too much because they could be in the prelims. Like Sirion Lek, this guy, I've seen him main event one of these cards, and the fact that he's this far down, I'm like confused. I'm watching it. I'm like, holy shit, this he's good. He's put on bangers before. So this fight specifically was a very good one. He lost. He actually didn't look as good as he did in the main event. I'm actually really confused on like what was going on here. My assumption, and we'll talk about this later, there might have been some sort of issue here. He might have been injured already or something because he, in my opinion, should have been higher up on the card, at least, co-main event, main event, whatever you want to say, because I've seen him there before. And we'll talk about why I think he would have been swapped and moved down on the card, presumably that they know something was wrong with them. We will talk about that in a second.
All right.
But that's
So yeah, this was Sirion Lek versus Lok Song.
Jing Sing Lek is what he
Oh,
went by. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
See,
the
this is
I'm
always gonna. Yeah, this should be something that like maybe we put out here as a general note to One Championship. From a fan perspective, if we can nail down exactly what we should be calling these people, because I
yeah.
mean, like as we're talking about this, I like to. We have audio only listeners at times. I want to be able to, be keeping them informed of what we're discussing here fight wise. But it's like if the name is not matching up and we're constantly having to do this back and forth thing to try to figure out who we're even talking about, like you build stars off of their name and personality, so one half of that has to be the name, and like we need to be able to discuss these people in broader circles.
Because some people have like aura full names and like they're very quick, they're snappy, and obviously they're not like what they were born with. But like some people, they go by Shadow. nice.
Sure.
Superlek, Shimon,
Yeah, Rod Tang. I mean, get a couple.
Surian Lek. These are names that you can get behind. But if I go in here and I don't know if your name is the name of the gym that you come from, or if this is the name of your favorite Dragon Ball Z character, I genuinely don't know. This is something that we've seen with the Japanese guys, by the way. I didn't throw that out there. Listen, I've seen a lot, guys. I've
Sure.
seen a lot. So it's just interesting that, yes, you make a great point. But yeah, it's very hard to keep up sometimes, especially when
Right.
Tapology clearly has different names for people than what the official one site is having for me in the English translation or whatever, I guess, you know?
Yeah,
So
so, it's just, like, because we want I mean, like, as the sport grows, I mean, or the all of these sports, the Muay Thai and, kickboxing, like, MMA in the West is like, it's getting a lot of people interested in other combat sports, and I mean, especially on this show and other, streams that we do around here, we're always talking about how great the quality of one championship is, but you have to be able to follow it. You have to be
mhm,
able to know who you're looking at. You want to have a favorite fighter. All these things like the stuff that you're talking about with some of these guys. Like you've seen them enough times that Shimon is your guy, right? But like
yeah.
if you're just getting into it, it's hard to know where to start.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, this one definitely made me raise an eyebrow initially because why wasn't he higher up on the card? And he lost. And he was kind of like a real dogged fighter in that first fight that I saw of him in the main event. So it was real confusing to me to see him get hurt so many times. But he was still dogging his way through it. That's why I was like, something must have been up. And we'll talk about why I believe that. So next fight,
Yep.
you got Mr. On the right hand, you got Mr. Tong Poon with his text paint tattoo on his chest. The drippy paint
Yes.
is all you need to know about this guy. I mean, he lost to a 22-year-old, by the way, from China. Sure, decent, but you couldn't really say anything else other than that dude has a really bad tattoo on his chest. Like
Sure.
that was the entirety of the fight. That's all you can take away from this is that dude had a bad tattoo and lost to the Chinese guy. Kind of.
Sure. Tong Poon versus Pai Man Zhang.
Yeah. So that one it was okay. It was all right.
All
Now
right.
the next fight is more important. This one is Yod IQ, right? This is another guy who I've seen a few times, and the name sticks out. You remember Yod IQ? It's obvious. Like I mean, Elon Musk, his kid's name Z equals 77 or something like that, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Shit like this you remember, and why you should remember Yod IQ, and this is important to know. So Yod IQ, he won two fights in one, and then he lost a unanimous decision to Alexei, this guy that he just fought. And then he has now won nine in a row, 10 including knocking out the dude he lost to in the first round. So, if you want somebody to look out for, Yad IQ is definitely your guy. He's 23 years old, and I mean, there's no reason to doubt him at this point. The unanimous decision loss that he took early on in his career in his third fight clearly meant nothing if he just starches it, that guy, 10 fights later, just demolishes him in the first round. And now that I think about it, if he's 23 now, when the hell did he fight this dude? If this was, I mean, 2023, okay, so he would have been 21 years old or whatever. So this is a good one to look out for. Yad
Yeah.
IQ is good.
Making some improvements. I like it.
Yeah,
All
definitely
right.
like that one. And then next, again, the next fight after this, you got Muhammad from Iran. This is another interesting one. This is
Yeah.
one that
Mohammed Sayasarani.
that's actually I think that's it. Yes, so he's fine. This is another guy that I said, you have Iran, Lebanon, and some other. I don't know if these are even close to each other, but things like that. The flags look very similar too. When
Yeah.
you think of regions like that, they have some up and coming prospects that these these are regions that are not necessarily prominent in MMA that you don't see very often, but in Muay Thai, sprinkled throughout a lot of these one cards, you will see some of these regions, and they do pretty well. There's actually a couple different sets of brothers, I'm pretty sure, from specific regions that are doing very well. But Smoking Joe, the funniest nickname. I don't know why I always love nicknames like that. Smoking Joe came out here, put on a good performance, but then of course lost in the second round. So Iran, shout out, Muhammad got the dub. Love it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And there was
yeah,
somebody recently in one of the chats that one of my watch alongs that was from Iran, and I was referencing this fight. I was saying that yeah, if you really want to have people to get behind in your region, Muay Thai is definitely where it's at. It would seem.
yeah, 100%. The next fight is 2 fights after this.
Okay.
You get Sam A, and
Sam
this
A, yeah, Sam A
is
was the man.
Frankie Edgar. If anybody didn't know, this is Frankie Edgar. When he retired, he went to Thailand, and this is him right now.
Yeah, Sam A Edward. I was that's what I was calling him in the chat.
Yes. So this dude, I mean, what can you say? He's just an older guy, but he's clearly been doing it for the life of him. I forget how many bouts that they said he had, but this dude, I mean, this dude, he's the former strawweight Muay Thai and strawweight kickboxing and flyweight Muay Thai world champion. So he's clearly a credentialed guy when it comes to one and what they represent. He's still doing it. He's very old and he picked up the W and it was a decent fucking fight. 24-year-old, what is the 18-year deficit? I mean, Jesus Christ, Sam May, clearly get back in here next week. I'm ready to see it. Like
Yeah. Yeah, he was great. He was rocking, man. I quite enjoyed that fight.
and so this next fight, I think you're gonna have to actually go one more up because this is where it gets interesting. The main event, and this is where I talked about earlier. I think that they knew somebody was injured in that fight with Suryan Lek because I believe in this fight, and it was almost evident that there was something preventing Mr. Taiwan Chai, from competing at the fullest level. Therefore, they pulled him from the main event, and then he was then the co-main event before so when the second to last fight started, these two guys walked out, which is what the event was named after. They are the main event. They were supposed to be. This has happened before, and I was always confused on why they would do this sometimes. But co-main event starts and it's the main event bout, of course. So it makes you question, okay, did somebody pull out of the co-main event? Like, where's the co-main event? We just skipped right into the main event. Okay, fight starts. We get a calf kick. Taiwan Chai lays down and doesn't get up. Fight ends off of a leg kick, a quote unquote leg break or something. Very interesting situation, but begs the question, did they know something ahead of time and he was just willing to continue to go on? Obviously show must go on. Let's give the fans a performance, or let me see what I can do, but like, let's not make it the main event. Let's end on a good note, so we'll make you the co-main event, kind of deal. I i I feel like something was really up here because this was just a really weird, from what I was being told. Taiwan Chai is one of the greats. This is a guy that I was getting the pleasure to witness on a Friday morning. Like, this is a guy that I was told he was the Volkanovski of one. Think about that. That is
Damn.
a what's right. So when I see him come in here, get one leg kick in 52 seconds, and then he sits down and he can't get up. I mean, I'm clearly skeptical because there was a lot of respect being thrown to this man's name about how good he is and what he is supposed to show me. And what I saw was something crazy going on. So I don't really know what was happening, but then we ended up getting the co-main event. The original co-main event happened right after, replacing the main event as the main event. And it just makes me believe that the same thing with Suryan Lek, as these two fighters entered the fight somewhat compromised, and it did not bode well for them.
This is PTT versus Suryanlek. Is that was it
Uh,
or what was the who was it?
Suryan Lek was the one earlier in
Oh,
the
sorry.
fight.
Okay.
Yes, earlier in the card, the one that I was very curious on why he was not higher up in the card, and maybe they just moved him down because he was compromised. He also put on a performance that made me believe he was not at 100%.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
So
But so what was the fight? What ended up being the main event here?
that fight that you're yes, the left meteorite, that ended up being the main event. Uh, that fight that you're looking at right now,
Right. Yeah.
they just swapped
PTT
them.
versus Uthai.
Yes.
Okay.
On here it's Kulabdam versus, yes, PTT. Yes, PTT ended up winning. This was a good performance. I mean, it was, again, when it comes to these fights, they're all very very good, and you could have swapped this one for the third fight that happened in the card. So when the only thing that it really just took away from everything that happened once you get to this fight, because it was a good one. Left meteorite is a really good nickname, because what the hell's on the right hand if the meteorite's in the left, shit like that, it just makes you say stupid shit. But the fact that the main event, or the quote unquote main event, happened the fight before and it ended in a 2-second leg kick, it took away from everything. I know that they tried to fix it, like, okay, we'll make it the co-main and we'll give you a fight to end it on, but I don't know. It still doesn't help it. It doesn't change the fact that maybe we just shouldn't have had them compete or something. I don't know, because clearly the two things are certain. He got hurt really early. He was supposed to be the main event. Like, I mean, you can even say, if I don't know. There's just a lot of weird things when I think of that, and it just makes me think that they sent him out there, and he was probably not 100%. And maybe he wanted to go out there. I don't know, but it looks like the opponent knew exactly what the fuck was wrong, dude, and he kicked you right in your shit. So,
Yeah, could very well be. I mean, it's like you said, the show must go on, but at the same time, is that fair to the fighters? That fair to the fans? I don't know. It's an interesting kind of debate that you can have about that.
yeah, see, and Taiwan Chai is a legend. Shout out the 10-7. I mean, it is just interesting, man. I wish I would have got to see it, but I think he was compromised. I wonder if there's going to be anything, said about that. But one has definitely done this before, where they'll swap out the main event for a fight earlier on in the card, and they just don't give reasons, but they're able to do it on the fly. I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, I guess then that was the one championship card. That was the Friday Fights 137. Overall impressions are, I mean, pretty much as you just described them. I would say, right? I mean, just it's like it's one of those things that there's not a whole lot of like variation. It's just solid. Like if you have those cards that are like really great, and then you have like terrible cards, and then there's like the middle ground, and like it feels like the one Friday Fights are like always in that middle where it's like they're just solid overall quality output, and that's really all you need to know and get.
Yeah, no, for sure. And chat CTE and 10-7. I'm not ragging on Taiwan Chai. I feel bad for him, really, because something really must have went on in that fight. Like, I watched that, and it's not like I'm sitting here and like being like, damn, that dude fucking sucks. Like, what the hell did I see? No, he like genuinely went in there, took one leg kick, and like his leg just stopped working. Like, I don't know what
Yeah,
it like, and it looked weird too. Like, if you really want to break it down, like, it's not like the way that I described it, he just sat down and didn't want to get up. No, like his leg, like when he took the leg kick, like his leg like locked up. Like his leg was like you could see all the muscles like very tense in his leg. So I don't know what was going on, but like it did not look as if he was ready to compete or something. If what I was being told, and as you guys are saying right now, going to war with Superbon, again, back to the namesake, Superbon's somebody that I know. If he went to war with somebody that I know, he must be pretty damn good. But going in here and leg kicks are, again, we go back to what I've seen these guys take shots compared to what I see in the UFC or compared to other promotions. Like these guys they're not going down unless it really fucking hurts. We actually got a lot of different nut shots in this card. We normally don't get a lot of them, but this card specifically, we got a lot of different ones. But I'll tell you what, like Joe Rogan loves to talk about, that steel cup works, man. They were good. They were good to go after about 30 seconds. And whatever leverage they can get on an arm bar, I don't know, Joe Rogan, but they were doing fine out here when it came to Muay Thai. So either way.
fair enough. Yes, shout out the Thai Cup. Yeah, all right, well,
Oh,
good
he
deal. I
posted
mean,
it was broken. Yeah, see, it's got to. He must have had it broken the day before or something. Like Jesus Christ, that sucks.
yeah, and again, like we talk a lot about the gambling aspect of all of this stuff and how prevalent it is in combat sports now and all of our lives and in general, it seems. And like things like that, I mean, like I don't know if there's necessarily a crossover with like this specific fight, but like stuff like that is exactly why you'll see like markets going crazy. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, the line will just spike and go in an entirely different direction. So, um, I just it's hard to say like what's okay, like how that should be handled or like what's the right way to do it, because it's like you don't want to deny the guy the ability to fight if he wants to go out there and fight. Obviously he still took the fight. He didn't say that he didn't want to do it. But it's like I don't know. I feel bad for like some of the people who might have had money on him. I mean, obviously if he's a legendary guy, that comes with a status that would lend one to believe, if you're, even just taking a glancing look at it, oh, this might be the guy that I want to put the money down on, and then he's coming into the fight compromised. A bunch of other people on the other side might have known that, or potentially ended up knowing that, or the organization certainly knew that, if that's what we're believing is the case. So I mean, it's just tough when you add the gambling aspect into all of this, because those behind the scenes things, where does it get to the point of where it's fight fixing? Does not. I'm not implying that for this fight, or this card, or one championship in general. I'm just saying that, like, you start crossing over into an area that's a little bit more gray. It starts getting a little bit more nebulous, and then you have questions that are getting raised about you, your organization, the fighters, etc.
Yeah, I mean, and you make a, you ask the question. It's like, did the promotion know? It's like, why else would they not have their main event perform at the last fight? Like, what would actually be the reason? Like, I'm curious. You have him front and center on the top of the fucking thing right here.
Yeah, I mean, you're
I
making
don't.
good points. So, again, where does that get into the point where it's like somewhat unscrupulous? We are knowingly. I mean, think about it in terms of the Bulgarian situation. The UFC was notified before the fight took place that there might be some fixing going on. They asked him, "Hey, what's going on here? Anything?" Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Okay, we still let the fight go on.
Yeah,
Where's the level of culpability? Like, is there culpability in this, where it's like, oh, the guy is obviously compromised, or, or at least potentially telling the organization that that's the case, let the fight still go on. I'm just saying that, like, you start getting into these conversations, and it's not a conversation you want to be a part of, I would say.
yeah, 100%.
So,
But yeah,
all right.
that about wraps up one. It was definitely an interesting experience. Yeah. Like, well, your question. What was my overall experience? I love one, man. One in the morning, before work, chef's kiss. Of course, then I had to get ready for the BS at the night. So,
Indeed, yes, yeah, and just to put my own cap on it, one definitely has to get more mixed in with the watch alongs on this channel as well. So I'm hoping to like, for when they have cards, that the problem is that they always seem to like cluster around like other events.
mhm.
One generally does Friday nights, so we'll have to see if maybe we can pull some of those in. Of course, we do a Friday show now too. Scheduling is really all it comes down to, but I also love one. So I would like to be doing more one content as well, and I'm really glad that we talked about it here. So in the meantime, until that starts happening at Yama, make sure that you're hanging out with Chase.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, let's move into the more of the. We're getting deeper into the slop territory now. Let's go over to this guy. This was, of course, Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. I didn't even know that they were calling this Judgment Day, but I guess that's the tagline they had for this event. How much of this thing did you watch?
Okay, so I saw the clip of the knockout with Anderson Silva and Tyron Woodley. I assume the first round, not much anything had happened that I should care about. The knockout, though, if you want to talk about it, quote unquote
Well, yeah, I
knockout.
was gonna say. I mean, I just curious if like, did you where you like entered onto this thing, because I watched all of the
Yeah,
main card.
I entered at the female fight, so the co-main event.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, this was a kind of an abbreviated main card. Now, granted, I don't want to go into it because too deeply, because I got very heated coming into this card on the watch along, and if you want to know my full thoughts, you can watch the beginning of that VOD. But there was some discrepancies as to where you could watch the prelims. I found out later on that you could watch them on YouTube for free, but there's something called Tutum, which is like, I guess, a Netflix yeah, I know. That's what I said. I did the same thing. Like, what? Excuse me? So apparently Netflix has an imprint that they're starting to try to make a thing, which is this Tutum platform. It's not on Netflix proper. So, because I specifically I canceled my Netflix account after the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. I very publicly said, it was one of the worst viewing experiences I have ever had. I re-signed up for Netflix for this, and I did so that I could watch the prelims as well. So they gave me this runaround. I end up going to take a nap. I come back, and I'm checking my DMs and seeing that like people are saying, "Oh, you can watch the prelims over here." Well, okay. Now, I mean, thanks a lot for nothing then. And you could not find it on the actual Netflix platform. This is my biggest point. So just putting this out there, there was some real ridiculous fuckery afoot when it came to the prelims of this thing. But in the big picture, probably better that we didn't have to sit through all of that as well, because I came in at the Jamal Harvey fight, Jamal Harvey versus Kevin Cervantes. Um, Harvey was good. This guy is definitely a quality boxer. Cervantes was definitely not. And I think that they were probably setting up Jamal Harvey for a decent win here. He did not finish the fight.
Oh my god,
However,
minus
is
5,000 favorite.
exactly minus 5,000 favorite, with I think is two fights on the record, I believe, and one knockout. So this kid is new to the game in general, coming in here, getting set up against, essentially a can, it would seem, even though this guy, he'd been boxing since he was 11 and blah, blah, all the same shit that you always hear. It's like, okay, whatever. What are you going to do in this actual fight? Um, Harvey has really nice hands, man. I mean, like fast combos, nice movement, all of the things you want to see out of a quality boxer. I would have liked to have seen him against somebody who is giving him more of a fight.
I well before listen, I actually wanted to get back to your point about the way that the way Netflix was working.
Yes.
I tried to join at the co-main event, like I said, that's where I started. And for one, I open up Netflix, it's not even advertised on the main screen.
Yeah.
The Paul event, like there's nothing saying that Paul and whatever Joshua's live. So I type in Jake Paul, I click the fucking event, I click watch live, it just loads. Okay, I click refresh. I go back to it, click it, it just loads. The first like 10, 15 minutes of my stream is me just not even be able to watch it while I own Netflix, while clicking the event. And who knows why? God knows why I couldn't watch the event at the time that I wanted to watch it. So I missed a little bit even of the co-main event when I started to watch it at the time that it was scheduled. So yeah, Netflix, get it together, dude. Like what in the fuck?
You'd think they would have had this all worked out after the Tyson fight, considering how bad that was. I mean, I've never had an experience like that in my life. It was terrible.
They have
Terrible.
they have too much experience with Raw now. Like I don't get how they're messing up when every Monday, like they think they're last week's fight or something. They go on every Monday on Netflix over there and they still can't get it together. Like, yo, Jake Paul, I'm trying to be on the fucking event watching. Like, come on.
Yeah, we have problems every once in a while on this stream. I would say that we have, by and large, been a more consistent streaming experience than Netflix has been.
You heard it out there first. If you have any investments pointed any direction, they need to be in this one because we are out here with a more reliable product than the Netflix. Mr. Flicks out there, you better start looking, buddy, because we are on the way.
Indeed. Well, all right, fair enough on all of that, and I agree entirely. But moving on to the Anderson Silva Tyron Woodley fight, of course, this was one of the main reasons why I wanted to watch this, aside from the main event and all we will talk about there. Um, Really, not too much to talk about in this fight. To be perfectly honest, Anderson Silva still got it at 50 years old. I mean, it's kind of amazing that he has the ability to still generate the power. I mean, granted, power is the last thing that goes, they say, but it's not just the power, right? It's obviously it's the setups. And if you watch the clip of the knockout, this is against Tyron Woodley. We know Tyron Woodley is not a great boxer. Why he ended up being, of all people, one of the dudes who went this route in his post MMA career is kind of questionable. But, I guess if you trace it back, there are reasons for it, whatever. Either way, Tyron Woodley in here, also filling in for Chris Weidman as well. That's another thing to keep in mind. This was not supposed to be Tyron Woodley. It was supposed to be Chris Weidman. Weidman pulls out. Tyron comes in somewhat short notice. He's just not great, period, no matter how much notice you're going to give him. Anderson Silva has shown a lot of pretty decent boxing over his time. He's gotten some good wins, even though he did not beat Jake Paul, of course. Um, Tyron Woodley's setup was really nice. I mean, he comes in with the step in, almost a Muay Thai move, the high knee, and then turns it into a what they're somebody posted a clip in the Discord that it was basically a taunt jet uppercut, which is a Tekken term if you are a video game player. It was very similar to that, really. I mean, he gave him the setup, that nice hesitation from the high knee right into the combo, and the combo worked. So good deal.
I think it's just absolutely insane. Anderson Silva may be 50 years old, and I know I am the fade the old person guy, but this is boxing, right? This is far less of skill that you need to be competent. This is celebrity boxing at that against Tyron Woodley, guys. Anderson Silva in his heyday, his head movement was on point. If you don't think he'd be a decent boxer off of that standard alone, I mean, you're not paying attention, I guess. Now, when it comes to hands, I mean, this guy clearly has them. I mean, he's somebody who is a very accurate puncher, and he's also he's a very smart athlete when it comes to combat sports. Like you said, completely illegal, I'm sure, to fucking throw a knee feint, but who am I to say? It worked. It's celebrity boxing. You do whatever the fuck you want, and clearly he knows what he's doing in there. And
Well,
even at 50 years old, I think it's fine. Go for it.
sure. No, yeah, 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 absolutely. That I did want to touch on what you said there. That's a general note for all of the boxing that we're going to talk about. The referees might as well have been non-existent for the majority of this. Like there
Who's
was
gonna
no.
stop them from hugging?
I, God, I mean, God, I wish that somebody would have more in some of these fights. Yeah, I mean, as far as Anderson Silva goes, I don't think he was actually like trying to throw the knee. I think it was
Well,
more
it's
of a.
not. But even still, I don't think you're allowed to. I can't fake an elbow, can I? Like
Well, I don't think he was even faking a knee. I think he just like raised his leg up high to like he was just doing a high step. Now, I don't know how you interpret that. Yeah, you could say, hey, you got to keep your knees less angled. I don't know. Like, what do you even say to that, right? Like,
If
what's
I
the
if I acted like I was gonna kick you, I mean, you would be like, like, isn't that? I don't know. It's celebrity boxing, so who cares? We see we're gonna talk about what Jake Paul was able to accomplish. So
Absolutely, yeah. And so I mean, look, a nice knockout here for sure. Knocked him out pretty clean. I mean, Tyron Woodley was out. Do want to touch on this comment from CTE. Is Anderson that good, or is Tyron just that bad as a
both.
boxer? Yeah, I mean, that's literally exactly what I was going to say. I mean, it's Anderson is like you said, Chase. I mean, Anderson is a cerebral fighter. This is a guy who is. Whoops, sorry there. Yeah. Anderson is a guy who like as far as like placement of your body's what we would call ring generalship, octagon generalship in MMA, like a command of your presence in the environment that you're in the fight. Like Anderson Silva still has it, you can definitely see the movement is slower. I mean, at 50 years old, he's certainly not the spring chicken that he once was as far as like fast twitch movement and all that kind of stuff. However, the placement of his body and thus the placement of the shots, his accuracy is still really great. His power is obviously still there. His setups and his two steps ahead thinking, he's one of those chess players when it comes to that. It's like, if he's going to do this, I'll do this. And then he's going to do that and I'll do this. He's thinking two steps ahead and all of that is still there. So when you have it against Tyron Woodley, who is not doing any of that stuff, pretty much all of the things that I just mentioned, not there for Tyron Woodley. Like Tyron Woodley is one of those dudes. It reminds me of stand-up comedy, Chase. I'm sure that you've seen this before, where you've got a guy who knows the beats of stand-up, but the jokes are not good. So it's like he's basically kind of cosplaying as a stand-up comic, where it's like, I know that that's where the punchline should be. I know that this is the setup to the joke, but the jokes don't land. Tyron
Mhm.
Woodley reminds me of that in boxing, where it's like you see that he knows the basics. Obviously, he keeps a guard up, he keeps his stance wide, he knows how to move his body a little bit, but when it comes to actually throwing the strikes and doing the movements as needed, he just doesn't have it.
Yeah, and I don't, I know you talked about the finish. He did. It was Listen, the finish was funny, and the reason why it was funny is you have to break down what happened. So Silva catches Tyron Woodley with a couple shots. Woodley falls face first down to the fucking mat, right? He's stumbling to get up. He stands there, the ref's counting, and then he's like, put him up, put him up. Tyron doesn't put his hands up. He just stands there, and then the ref lets it go on. Tyron Woodley just walks away. He just walks away, and then the ref just calls it. Like, it was weird. It
I
was really
forgot about that
funny.
aspect of it. You are right. Yeah, I had said that it was more clean than that. You are correct. Yes. Now remembering that that is funny. Yeah, Tyron was back. Like he was back on his feet, and then the ref was just like, "Nah, I don't think so."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, and I guess I don't think so either. Tyron Woodley really came in, got the bag, and jetted out. So I mean, congratulations, Tyron. Tyron Woodley making a little cottage industry about out of getting knocked out here when it comes to these dumb celebrity boxing events. But however much he ended up making off of that, good deal.
And I'm a true hater at heart. So the reason I'm gonna say this is because one, I don't care, and two, I why not? Tyron Woodley, I don't think is the type of person that would be making like millions of like maybe a handful, but like he seems like out of all the people, he'd be the one that would get lowballed and be okay with it, like to do some stupid celebrity boxing, but he doesn't get the payday that Anderson Silva would or a Jamal Harvey random dude on the card. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, especially coming in as a short notice replacement, just however much they put down on the table, he says, "Hey, I don't have anything going on Saturday night. Get a couple bucks out of it. Why not?" Walks
Friday
out.
night.
Friday, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I mean, whatever, whenever they say call him up and he'll be there, he'll be there. I mean, like it's why not? I mean, his combat career is he's not one of those guys that wanted to do like the fighting forever. There's different types. We'll talk about one of them on the next card that we talk about. These guys that just are addicted to the fight game. This is their life. All they know is fighting, and that's all they're ever going to do. Tyron Woodley had other ambitions. He wanted to be an actor. He wanted to try his hand at rapping, which thankfully, that doesn't seem to be something he's doing much of anymore. Either way, you come in, you call him up on the phone, you say, "Hey, I got a couple of $100,000 for you, $1 million for you, whatever it ends up being." Tyron Woodley will show up, and that'll be what you'll get out of him.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, moving on to the co-main. Just to touch on it briefly, this fight was very boring. This was Alicia Baumgardner versus Layla Baudouin, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Another Canadian on the card here. And another Canadian being discussed on the show, rather. But yeah, I mean, Baumgartner taking this thing pretty handily. And that's really about it. This was just a long. The only thing that I guess is somewhat interesting about this fight was that they specifically changed the rule set so that it could be under men's rules, and I didn't realize that women's boxing and men's boxing had different dynamics as far as the number of rounds and the length of the rounds. But that was changed for this. This was under the male rule set, and that's about all I got to say about it.
Well, there's a couple things that I'll say. So when you go back to last event, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, and you look at the under or the co-main event for that card as well, you had two females in Serrano and
Taylor.
Katie Taylor. And when what I say about that one is the entirety of the time that people turned on Netflix waiting for Jake Paul and Tyson to come on, they got to witness a pretty decent scrap between two women in a boxing title fight. Now it ended in a robbery, and a lot of people had something to say, which decent enough. It actually had some opinions thrown around about a fight that nobody would really care about unless it was on an event that we were waiting to see Jake Paul for, if that makes sense. And shout out to Jake Paul. If he's the one who's able to have any sort of say in his events, he's propping up female athletes in a very good way. He has co-main events and he's got title fights of women and they're going with men rules, whatever you want to say. I'm down for it. This fight, though, in the same regard, you're waiting for Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua to come on. So what are you doing? You're obviously watching what else is on. You're watching what's happening first. And this was bad. This was a very bad fight. And you go, listen, I just hate to say it, but when I see a fight like this, and then I see somebody wrap 7 belts around them, and then they do like a Ric Flair strut, like, I'm just like, it just makes my head hurt. Like, why do you have so many belts? I didn't even see you whoop anybody's ass in this fight. You're going to tell me you did it any other time ago with those 7 other belts? Like, it just makes me so mad because they have so many belts that a security guard has to carry 3 of them for them, and then the other security guard has to carry the other 2 in a briefcase. Like, it's really infuriating about boxing is why is there so many belts? Like,
Well, I
genuinely.
mean, it's the structure is different. It's the commissioning bodies are the ones that issue the belts and all of that, and it does allow for that. So you do have these very dominant champions who end up with these massive amounts of title wins and stuff. But you're right, it does create a different kind of perception because it's Baumgartner who you're talking about with all of those belts there. And granted, she won this fight. I think it was pretty clear that she took this thing handily. However, for it to be such a glorified point fight, which a lot of boxing does seem to be. I mean, this is why we've talked about boxing several times on the channel, and it's compared to essentially any other form of combat sports, it is the least entertaining, I would say, is exactly for this reason, is that if they're not going in there with express desire to end the other person, like, if they don't have that killer instinct to be like, I'm going to take this person's head off, you end up with essentially just point fighting. And then you can't even add in knees, kicks, and otherwise. So all you're doing is tap and I tap, and you tap and I'll block and I'll move, and then it's just this big, the dance. This is literally the dance. I mean, it really feels like not necessarily choreographed, but it's very much a series of dance moves. You throw, I throw, we're back and forth, we circle. I mean, like it's not, it doesn't equal up to entertainment value.
Yeah, 100%. No, I definitely listen. Comparing it to the last event with Tyson, what I also will say is, going back to it, people got to see a banger of two women's fights, and thankfully that happened because people weren't very impressed with the main event that happened with Tyson and Jake Paul. This one, we didn't get much of a banger, so we can't really hang our hat on the two women's fights before because we got to talk about the main event, of course.
Indeed, we do. So, yeah, nothing more really to say about the co-main. So let's talk about Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Now, a lot of different opinions about this thing. I've heard, people saying that, oh, Jake should be so respected for going in there against a world-class boxer, this and that. Like the people saying that, oh, he like why like it was garbage, it's fixed. I mean, there's a lot of different versions of like how people viewed this. What I have said about this fight is that this is the logical conclusion of the Jake Paul experiment. For the longest time, you had Jake Paul. He was fighting basketball players. He was fighting guys who were ex MMA fighters who were past their prime, boxers who were past their prime, and constantly the same criticism was levied over and over again. He needs to fight a boxer, and he needs to fight a boxer that is within his own range and size and all of those kinds of things. Now, I mean, Anthony Joshua much bigger than him, so that doesn't even really count here. But all of the things that you wanted out of Jake Paul finally you got in this fight. He was fighting a boxer. He was fighting someone at least close enough to their prime. I mean, yeah, 36. Yeah, yeah, I mean, come on, that's definitely prime range. Maybe a little bit on the tail end. Either way, guy who's a boxer, guy who's close enough to his prime, a dude who weight wise, even though he was much bigger and much heavier, was closer in weight, I would say, than some of these other guys that he had fought. Um, I think that you got what you wanted out of this. I mean, granted, Jake Paul and all of what he did in this fight was kind of goofy, and it definitely looked like Anthony Joshua was playing with his food. I mean, like why it took to the sixth round for this to end up getting finished when Anthony Joshua had him cornered so many times, that I don't know. But if you wanted to see Jake Paul fall, you saw him fall against a boxer. I think that the arc is complete here.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. Yeah, there's not much more that I think I want to say about it because I genuinely just don't care. It was so not anything that I wanted to care about. Like when I'm watching it, and I just have a blank face because in my mind, I know Anthony Joshua is somebody that I grew up in high school saying that could be that guy right there looks like the epitome of what a heavyweight boxer should be, and he's never lived up past the image of a heavyweight boxer. And here we are now. He's 36 years old. I have a podcast about mixed martial arts, and he's doing a celebrity boxing event against Jake Paul. So, what opinion stands? Listen, I have my own opinion about him, and what I said for a little bit was, man, he's doing a really good job of looking like he's having an off night. He's playing the part really well right now. That he's having not the quickest start to a match. Whatever you want to say, and by the time it happened, like thankfully, because that was I don't even know, dude. I just
It
don't
would.
even
I mean,
care.
yeah, it would have been absolutely ridiculous if this had not gone the way that it went eventually. But I don't even think that he was doing that convincing of a job of making it seem like an off night. I mean, there were literally times where like he wasn't pumping the jab out at all. Like, I mean, there were multiple times where Jake was either backed up or cornered that he just wasn't engaging. I said that several times on the watch along. I'm like, he's just not throwing. He isn't, whether it's intentional or not. He in his post fight interview was saying, I had to fight smart. I fought strategically, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, I mean, you can say all of those things. And granted, I mean, I guess there is something to be said for taking it seriously enough so that you don't get embarrassed by Jake Paul. But I don't think that that was ever going to be in the cards. I mean, Jake Paul was literally shooting for takedowns. I mean, like he was hugging this dude's knees at times. He was as evasive as you possibly could be. The amount of shots, he did land one decent strike. I mean, there was a time where he caught him pretty clean, but what did it equal up to in the bigger picture, and how many times has Anthony Joshua taken legitimate shots from way more legitimate boxers? I don't think that the strike that Jake landed was necessarily going to be a trajectory altering strike. So I mean, but again, you could say that, hey, you got to be cautious in there. It is his reputation on the line, whatever. I think that you get a round or two of that. By round 4 of that, I'm like, dude, what is going on here? This, I was definitely feeling like the script might have been pre-written. But finally, in the 6th round, he came around. Finally, it was just odd. Some people saying that was another one of the narratives. Oh, like the script was written, but he didn't follow it close enough, or something like that. It was like, I don't know, hard to say with the way that everything is in the sporting world nowadays. It's very hard to know what's real and what's not. But you got what you got out of it eventually, and the right conclusion did happen eventually.
Yeah, at least when I enjoy my WWE, I know it's all fake. I don't have to speculate.
Right. Yeah. And then that's really, the more I'm telling you, man, like it's going to be an unfortunate future. I feel like a lot. Like, we do this show. We've been doing this show for a while. I feel like going forward, we're constantly having to ask these questions, and that's not fun. I mean, like, it's not
Mhm.
a good thing. Like, the reason that you like these sports is because it's supposed to be an even playing field, and these guys are supposed to go out there and compete at their best, and may the best man win, right? I mean, that's the whole setup of all of this. You start adding in all of these other elements behind the scenes that turn it into a questioning of every single fight that we see. It's not as, it takes away from why you love it in the first place, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's really about it for the Anthony Joshua Jake Paul fight. It happened. If, like I said, this was an end of a run, an era. I don't really know what you describe Jake Paul as. Like, I think it's going to be very interesting to see if he still is a draw for people after this now. Like, have people have now seen him lose? Like, is there still going to be interest? Is there going to be interest from his fan base? The younger people that he brought to boxing. A lot of things will be revealed as we go forward, I guess. But like those are my questions. Is like, what does the future look like for Jake Paul at this point? I mean, granted, this guy is so goddamn rich off of all of this stuff. He could walk away now and never need to work another day. I mean, obviously, the conversation is a little bit different when it comes to a person like him. He'd never have to work, period. Barely has ever had to work. But like, in terms of like boxing or any kind of combat sports, he could walk away now and never have to come back and be fine for a million lifetimes. So what does he do, I guess, is the question. And then what is the draw thereafter?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems to be that the family business is going into biographies and autobiographies, because I don't know if anybody out there was wondering, but yes, the mother of the Pauls has a book that just came out. It's on Amazon.com audiobook. If you want a link, let me know. I'll get you one, because she knows what's up. She raised two crazy hell spawns, and she knows what's up. So now she's going to share her thoughts with the world. Who's buying this book, by the way, Thinker? Let me know.
I have no clue who was buying that book. I really, really don't know. Yeah, the book, I believe, is called "I Hate the Pauls" or "I Fucking Hate the Pauls" or something like that, and then it's written by their mother, is what it's listed by on Amazon. So not her name, whatever her name might be, but something Paul. It is written. I hate the Pauls by their mother.
Mhm.
Yeah, who is reading this book? I could not tell you in a million years who is buying this book or reading this book. Um, because like, even as a person who's on the outside, who is like morbidly curious about like influencer life and things like that, like, I wouldn't go to that for that. You know what I mean? Like, I would make like, if it, like, and I'm not even talking about myself, just anybody in this position, I would probably be more apt to watch their reality show if I was curious about that side of things than some book that she wrote, which is going to be skewed from the perspective that she wants it to be coming from. I don't know.
Yeah, if they had like their own Osbournes type of thing, like I'd be genuinely curious to see what they kind of live like or whatever. But yeah, the fact that there's a book coming out about it or something like that, yeah, I'm all right. I'm
Well, I
I'm
think
cool.
they did have like an Osbournes kind of show. Like, that was,
Yeah,
I think,
see,
on Netflix.
yeah, I didn't really care about that either. Then I guess, but either way,
Right.
yeah, who is she?
Exactly.
She's their mother, according to Amazon.
I mean, get as much as you can. They're glomming on to the success, and it makes sense. The parents always, I think, both of them, the mother and the father, have always been kind of like riding their success to an extent.
Well, when I go back to the asking who's buying this, I have people out there who I've kept an eye on that I know are smart people that if they come out with if they endorse something, I will pay attention to it kind of deal. Who out there has been following Jake Paul and Logan Paul's mother? That's like, yeah, well, she's got a book that she's got great ideas. I mean, you see what she's done? She's a mom. She's
Nah, but I don't think that they're
raised two
looking at it.
kids.
I don't think they're looking for that reason, though. I think that they're probably looking with the same level of morbid curiosity that they look at with the brothers. But that's what I'm saying. I don't know why you would go to her for that. Like, you already have them. Like, what perspective is she going to offer that's any more unique, any more entertaining? Like, there's really nothing that you get out of her perspective that I think it heightens anything.
Well,
Even if you're a fan of these guys.
when you're a mother out there and you are raising two young boys and they are just rambunctious, you need to read a book that's from somebody who raised two rambunctious children into multimillionaires so you can also be rich off of it. You need the answers because you didn't have them, you don't have them yet. So you need to raise them into the answer, like
Well,
I
I
don't know.
think that you're answering the question right there. What this is mothers who want to create the next wave of ridiculous influencer people. So,
Mm.
there you go. If you are a young mother out there and want to get rich, not necessarily quickly, but over the course of a very long and a very public life, maybe that's how you do it. You read her book and then you raise two influencers, get them on the Disney Channel, and then now your son can be fighting the next Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, that's enough of that, I suppose. You want to move over to this next influencer event here? This was,
Yeah.
of course, the Misfits Mania, the fight before Christmas. We both liked the title, but I don't know if we both liked this event, Chase. What did you think of
Well,
this thing?
I saw three things, and there's quick things that I want to note about
Sure.
them. I did see the Indian boxer. I saw Niraj. I saw him go against Anthony Taylor, which I've been told is Darren Till's son.
Oh, is
Um,
is that? Oh, well, okay, not literally, but okay. No, I
yes.
didn't. I
So
didn't know. You never know, but okay, no.
yes, no, Niraj, the Indian boxer, took a dub. That's about all you really can say. Unanimous decision sounds good to me. I mean, is he going to be that good? Who knows? But he's comes from the region of India, so he's probably got a lot of fans that are going to follow him. That's about all I can say about that one. I don't know if you caught that
I
fight per
certainly
se,
did.
but
I saw the entirety of this event from beginning. The at least the main card. I will give them a little bit of credit. The main card of this was pretty much the whole event. I think that the prelims were on YouTube or whatever, but them thinking that they could get $100 for a Rumble Premium subscription for this.
annual
And
subscription.
exactly, an annual. This is a subscription. This is not a one-time purchase. So now, granted, they did discount it to $50 as their promotional, introductory promotional price here for $50. But I'm like, who do you think is paying $50 to see this? Now, what I said was that if you had made this $10 one-time charge, you would have gotten 10,000 times percent the amount of people because for $10, I'll watch this dumb shit. But what you ended up with was everybody else just flooding all of the illegal streaming services and this and that, and coming into certain watch-alongs and asking for links incessantly. And it was a nightmare on top of a card that was already not that great to begin with. So to start off, yes, you talked a little bit about Niraj. We'll get to that in a second. We did have Taylor Starling on this card, who is a BKFC fighter. So she went in there and somehow did not win this fight, which was kind of crazy to think about, even if it was a split decision going towards Carla Jade, who I guess also is a bare knuckle fighter, maybe is what it's looking like based on her shirt, at least. So at least you had some level of actual competition in that. Um, Really nothing to talk about in that fight altogether, though. The one that I did want to talk, I would really more want to talk about specific people than any of these fights overall. Dynamite Lopez. This is David Lopez, who goes by Dynamite. David Lopez actually is a legitimately good boxer, I would say. He was one of the standouts on this card. Got a really nice early finish, second round TKO. This is a dude who, if he, I don't know if he is an influencer on top of the boxing. you can tell that he takes his boxing somewhat seriously. This was a fantastic performance by him. Now, Garcia, don't know too much about him, don't know the level of talent there. But all I know is that Dynamite Lopez was a name that I was like, okay, I will keep that in mind for future reference because this dude actually put on a very impressive performance, I thought. Yeah,
Yeah, he's 8-0,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. Most
at
so yeah, I
21.
got to assume because that's the thing about these influencer events is like how much of it is actual like athletes and how much of it is influencers. I am not this kind of thing gets so deep into the influencer sphere that's even outside of my knowledge. I'm pretty keyed in to the YouTube culture and stuff like that. I know a lot of the bigger influencers, but like you get onto some of these and I'm like, who the fuck are these people if they're influencers? And then some of them are athletes that I just don't know about yet either. So like Lopez, if he is a legitimate athlete, which he seemed to be, good deal. Keep on going because he was actually
Nice.
pretty good. Pearl
Hell
Gonzalez was
yeah.
also on this card. She is a former UFC fighter. I don't know if you remember that name. She might have actually even been a little bit before your time. She only fought in the organization
Yeah,
a
no.
handful of times. But yeah, Pearl Gonzalez was on this card, former UFC fighter, got the win. Again, nothing really to talk about there. Ty Emery, I think, is an influencer, and she was not great. So Pearl should have won this fight, and she definitely did. So good deal there. And the last person that I have to as like a standout was Amir Anderson. I don't know if he again he also could be a dude. Is he an influencer? Is he an actual boxer? I don't know. All I know is that he came in here against this Joe Laws guy. Joe Laws is a Scouser. He's another Englishman, from the same land as Paddy Pimblett. This guy, Joe Laws, he was a bull in a china shop. Oh my God. This dude came out there. He was trying to throw shoulders. He was winging shots. This dude legitimately looked like to me that the idea of like, when you have a friend who's like, man, I'll fight anybody. I don't give a fuck. I'll just go in there and I fight. I don't care,
Yeah.
man. I just go in and fight. That's what he looked like in human form, like just winging shots wildly. He really thought that he was going to out tough Amir Anderson, but Anderson actually was technical. So I really liked Amir Anderson's style, man. This guy looked good. He looked sharp.
You said you aren't sure if this dude's a professional boxer or
Correct.
not. Click his thing real quick. Just I want you to do me a
Sure.
favor.
Six. Oh, well, there you go. I mean, so
Yeah, that's hilarious, ain't it?
well, and like you said though, what do those belts mean?
He's 6-0,
Yeah,
dude. What could that
six
even
and zero.
mean?
I would assume that some of those are amateur belts, but either way, I mean, yeah, it's you never know what level you're actually getting out of any of these things. But he looked good. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe Joe Laws is an influencer because he certainly is not a boxer. I mean, like the way that he was fighting, there's no way that this guy could have been an actual boxer. Impossible. But
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean, shout out to Amir Anderson. Much more technical, obviously. We'd have to see him against an actual boxer to know for sure, but he moved like one, he struck like one, and he got the win like one. So I got to give him credit there. Um,
100%.
Aside from that, I mean, you talked a little bit about Niraj Goyat. I thought that,
Nick Lamau.
oh
Did you
gosh, yeah. Well, I mean,
did you like that dude's
I
name?
loved the name Nick Lamau. I did not necessarily like the fact that he was out of his element. Nick Lamau, yeah, he fought Ben Williams. Ben Williams, not necessarily a great boxer, but a dude who like actually knew how to throw a punch. Nick Lamau was just hiding the entire fight. This dude did not want to get hit. And so because of it, I actually was it got to the end because it went the full 5 rounds, and by the end of the fight, I was like, why is this guy still in this fight? Like, I mean, like, dude, you obviously are not you're not throwing anything. You're just getting hit. Like, what is the point of, I mean, I guess just as a moral victory to say that you made it through the entirety of it. But yeah, Nick Lamau was, yeah, he had no business being in combat. Ben Williams, on the other hand, not bad for an influencer.
Yeah,
Um, Goyat, I thought that he was not doing great in this fight early on, but ended up turning it around towards the end here. And Anthony Taylor, I was like, bro, this dude Goyat is emoting like crazy early on. Had his hands low. He was like putting his chin right in the dude's face. Like this should have been a walk in the park if you had any real. Any legitimacy in boxing, which if you're saying that he's connected to Darren Till, I would assume that he has some. But obviously not the case because
No,
Goyat.
no, he got beat by Darren Till.
Oh, he got sunned by Darren Till. Got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's his
Well then, yes.
son.
Now it's making a lot more sense then because yeah, I don't know. Again, these are all people I'm not very familiar with. So Goyat, I mean, is he somebody more that does he actually box? I don't know. Either way, these were not high level fights. At least this certainly was not. And Taylor, he had some moments early on, but Goyat took the reins of this thing and made it his own fight towards the end. I mean, close fight still because it wasn't great, but he gets the nod. So shout out to India. We had some Indians in the chat who were rooting for him, and obviously, congratulations to those people. Your guy won.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so moving on here. Yeah, okay. This one was actually somewhat interesting. This next one. This was Amado Vargas versus Nuruddin Shabazz. This is Dean the Great, they call him. Um, Dean the Great, I guess, is a guy who is not very well liked. I don't know why. Again, a person I'm not familiar with. So, what the reason that everybody doesn't like this guy, I don't know necessarily. But what I do know is that the two of these guys hated each other. And Amato put the hurting on this dude in a legitimate
Yeah.
way. Like this was more of one where similar to Laws, it seemed like a dude who was like fighting a little bit more like passion versus technique. But in this case, it actually worked and he had just enough technique to make it like to make it all work out for him. And he was saying, I mean, he was after the fight, he was still barking at him and stuff. Like these guys, there was legitimate beef between these two, and I was happy to see Amato get the victory because he was the better fighter out of the two of them.
Yeah, I actually do remember this one as well. It kind of seemed like at a certain point, Amato was like you said, he was whooping him, but he wasn't beating him to the point where he's like, "Man, I'm gonna finish this dude." He was like, "Man, I'm gonna whoop his ass for fucking as many rounds as we got." Because every time he seemed to hurt him, he'd let him off the ropes. He'd let him circle around. But we're going right back at it, and then you'd see Dean cover up, get hurt again. Actually, in the last round, I actually think Dean had a pretty decent comeback. There was actually a pretty good flurry that he had there. But yeah, I think the what I've been saying is boxing, unfortunately, it this specific bout made me, have this point of realization is boxing is really only good when there's a feud there, when there's really two people who want to punch each other. Like that's what boxing is for. If it's two dudes who are here to keep, their record at 50-0 because they don't want to get hit, that not entertaining. I'm not here for that. This right here, I was into the matchup because you could tell like there was a little more than just the record on the line. This is manhood. This is your reputation, whatever you want to say. Like this is two dudes who really didn't like each other, and even after the fact, I always listen. The one time boxing got it right. I know after you go through a bout, have respect for your opponent. Sometimes though, fuck that. Fuck that. Don't be
Oh
the
yeah.
bigger person.
No, yeah, I mean, in something like this, I think you're right. Like, there's something to be said for a guy who wants to keep the record intact, but you still need to go and actually make it a fight.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I under like, yeah, the evasiveness in boxing, like being like defense heavy, the Floyd Mayweather style is like, yeah, like congratulations that you are as good at doing that as you are. But as far as a fan's perspective, you do want something like this a little bit more, I would say. This is definitely more entertaining than watching a dude dance around for 12 rounds. I mean, there was some legitimate beef here. He obviously wanted to go in there and hurt him, like you said too. Dean the Great did have a little bit of a comeback towards the end, so it made it more interesting as the fight went on. This was actually a legitimate fight this is actually a fight that kept my interest in a legitimate way, is I guess a good way to
Mhm.
put it. Like I was
Yeah.
actually invested in this. And to Amato's credit, after the fight was over, I guess that there was another boxer in Misfits that he wanted to fight, and the two of them had a really nice, respectful moment where it was like, "Look, man, you came to me. We have respectful words to each other. I respect you as an athlete, all this kind of stuff. You're not doing what this guy did. I respect you. I'd love to fight you." I was very happy with that as well because it showed that obviously this Dean the Great guy got under his skin for some reason. So I mean, you did what you needed to do. You got your chance at him there, and then you go back to being a more respectful person thereafter. I thought it went perfectly there.
Yeah. Yeah. Armado was actually pretty good. I like him.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if, in this world, why not?
Yeah. True.
All right, and then the co-main event, of course, was what I was here to see. This was Tony Ferguson versus Warren Spencer, and I actually have to say, I mean, even though Tony Ferguson really did beat the brakes off of Spencer for most of this fight. Spencer did not stop coming forward. I mean, like this guy Spencer, I gained a lot of respect for this guy just based on the fact that he was taking some heavy shots. He was really like he was engaging a lot of this and not, and you could tell that there was a big skill gap, but like he really did not back down. I mean, he didn't, even when he was getting really pummeled, he was like, I'm getting back in it, stayed the course throughout the entirety of the thing. I mean, it was a unanimous decision for Tony, but I gained a little bit of respect for Spencer.
He even lost a tooth. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see that. There you
He
go.
lost a tooth mid-fight, yep.
Wow. So how about that? I mean, yeah. So and this is also the guy that Dylan Dennis guillotined very quickly in the Misfits MMA bout that they had. So didn't know what to expect from him in boxing, but in the boxing realm, I was like, look, at least he's in there. At least I mean, you're going up against Tony Ferguson, who even at this stage of Tony's
The
career,
champ.
come on, dude. I mean, he's a champ in this sport. He is a dude who is extremely credentialed in combat sports, period. To go in there and put on the performance that this guy did, he certainly did more than Jake did. He wasn't shooting for legs as much. I mean, maybe he went down a couple of times, whatever, but like he was engaging. He was going face first into the fire. I got to give him the respect for that. Did we lose Chase? Um, Hold on.
Right?
There's Chase. Yep, you're back.
Okay, that was crazy. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wrapped up, just saying that Spencer earned my respect by being a guy who, in the face of heavy opposition, was really trying to do it. I mean, it was obvious he was not going to be able to. A couple little moments here and there. This was Tony Ferguson's fight for sure, but I still got a lot of respect for Spencer for sticking it out.
So when you see Warren Spencer's name next time, what are your thoughts instantly? Oh, that's the guy that Tony. What are you
Yeah.
filling in the blank there?
Oh, I mean, as he's the guy that Tony beat, but I would say that
But did he whoop him?
um,
Did 41
yeah.
year old Tony whoop this guy? I mean, come on,
Yeah,
like
kinda. I mean, like he kinda did, but at the same time, what I would say is like, who are they going to pair him up against? If they paired him up against the same guy that fucking Jamal Harvey fought on the Jake Paul card, he might have a shot in that fight. You know what I mean? Like if they paired him up against Nick Lamau, he would certainly have a shot. So there you go. That's what I would hope for Warren Spencer after doing what he did in that fight as a treat to him, as a thank you from the organization. Pair him up with Nick Lamau.
nice. Yeah, no, what I also want to say is the unfortunate thing is I know ending 25, Tony is 2-0, undefeated, and he is bigger, better than ever. But I will admit, it seems to me that he's lost a little bit of love of the game because he did not celebrate as if he won the Super Bowl this time when he won
True.
his title. He defended his belt, and I did not see champagne and tears coming down. So I'm a little worried. We're getting too complacent at 2-0, Tony. I need you to just come on. Let's get it, crank it into hyperdrive,
You need
dude.
to keep the fire. But I mean, look, what are they going to pair him up with in this thing? So it's like, I mean, he could probably be on autopilot in Misfits boxing and be okay.
I think they honestly might do the Dylan Dennis shit at some point. Why not? Tony and Dennis? I mean, that's like $1 million in the making right there,
I mean, I'm sure that it is, and that, yeah, that would certainly be a draw. That's another easy win for Tony, though. I mean, like that. This is what I'm always fascinated by is when you have a personality that exposes themselves in a real way. Like, how does that affect their draw thereafter? Because, like, yeah, you're right. I mean, Dylan Dennis still an unknown pest in the combat sports world. However, he was the one who was trying to guillotine Logan Paul and ended up getting DQ'd off of that. So, like, are people still like, wow, I want to see that? I mean, I guess if you have him as the co-main event, then propping up whatever your main event is, maybe. It's always very curious to me, like how those things work out and what actually draws legitimate eyes, and not only just eyes or whatever. I mean, eyes are coming from 8 million different Russian links all over the place. I'm talking about sales. How does a promotion like this actually stay afloat with the Dylan Dennises of the world?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no,
So
this one, I listen, Tony, shout out. I mean, if you didn't, I actually didn't know it was an interim title belt. That's what Tapology says here, by the
I
way.
was very curious about this because I recall Tony won the belt, and I thought that was at a different weight. So I guess that's what the case is here. Is that
He
so,
just invents fucking things that he owns, dude. He's the champ of everything you
brother?
say.
This whole influencer sphere is a big fucking make 'em up. It is a bunch of bullshit, all couch. And this is the great. Let me say it
The
like this
name
though.
fits, by the way.
Misfits, yeah, well, and that's why I kind of do give them a little bit of credit because they sort of took something that was like kind of fluffy, dumb shit. Because there is Fight Circus out there as well, you know. I mean, that's like legitimate, like freak show bullshit, which has its own place. But they took something like this Misfit thing and actually like turned it into a somewhat decent. I mean, this was in Dubai for fuck's sake. I mean, like you know, there's a little bit of money involved in this. I would think Rumble had to be paying something in or whatever. There was some rights deal there. What I will say when it comes to things like Misfits, now and specifically like Misfits, Jake Paul's thing's a little bit different because it's Netflix. That's a different echelon. When it comes to Misfits, though, we are in an amazing time for combat sports because the broadcast, even though it was a little choppy and shaky and stuff, still never fully cut out. I mean, like you know, you had decent production value. The actual in arena or in venue production was pretty decent, I would say. So we are getting to a point where combat sports are like the doors are open for people, and like if you have the names and you can make something like this happen, put together a little bit of cash for the broadcast and the venue and you can have that. So I think that there is something to be respected about this influencer boxing sphere. Obviously they've picked up and tapped into something that an audience is actively seeking out. As a combat sports fan, I think that it's absolutely slop. I think that this is combat sports slop in a very literal sense to me. But like as far as the actual product itself goes, I do have a level of respect for it.
Yeah, I can get behind it. Yeah, shout out Tony. I'll give it to him.
Well, and that takes us nicely as a segue into our main event here, which was, of course, the top G, Andrew Tate versus Chase Damore. Now, Damore, from what I understand, was a former actor, had been in some Netflix television shows. And I saw him get a knockout on the previous Misfits card. That was the kind of claim to fame that he had being in this. Andrew Tate, of course, a kickboxer, credentialed, quote unquote, but the same way that you were asking about all of those belts. Kevin Lee had a great tweet that I posted recently saying that, like, you know, you can't be going around saying that you're a champ with those kind of paper belts that he's holding on to as like his like credentials. I think we're seeing that maybe that was a little bit more true than not. Um, yeah, what do you think of this thing?
I think my initial assumption was 100% correct. I didn't think that Andrew Tate needed to lose and or get knocked out. I didn't think that was what it took. I thought it was very easier than that for people to lose respect and an image of what they had for Andrew Tate. And it's because he would get in there and we would realize that he's not some crazy credentialed, striker. I mean, he's a kickboxer, and from what we've seen in videos, the better thing that he does is throw kicks.
Sure.
Did we seem surprised when he did not look like a competent boxer? No, he lost to the guy that everybody claimed was the non-competent boxer of the two, and that showed. It just listen, I was very right to assume that the what witnessing him attempt to box at this age or whatever it is, coming back again, coming back and probably never being once that great, a version of that older is probably not going to look any better. And he's got a lot of hype behind him. He's got not hype as in like, man, he's in the fight game, he's a prospect. No, he's a social media star. Everybody loves Andrew Tate. He's based, whatever you want to say. He gets a lot of views.
Yeah, I want to go everybody. Also, I did want sorry, just not
Yeah,
to
go
cut
ahead.
you off, but I did want to mention why I had said that it was a good segue about the production and all of that. Andrew Tate is the owner of Misfits Boxing now, by the way. He
We,
purchased this organization.
we still don't know if that's even true or if it's a
Oh, is that it?
ploy.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
is that it's up in
does
the air?
Andrew Tate have enough money to buy a promotion, or does he have enough of an image for somebody to be like, yeah, we're gonna say you're the owner of Misfits because that's gonna get us a lot of press.
I mean, perhaps what are they even that different at this point? I mean, does he have the money for a promotion like this? I would say maybe. I mean, I don't, hard. I don't know. A lot of
How much money does Andrew Tate actually make? And if he's throwing it into Misfits, does he not have money issues like at that? Like you could invest in plenty of other different things. If you were investing in Misfits just so you could be the headline event against Chase Damore,
I
I
mean,
don't
who
know.
knows? I guess we'd have to find out what the numbers for this thing were and how many pay-per-views they actually sold and all that.
That no, you can't say that because that's not even how it works anymore. Money doesn't even exist. You can't say we have to figure out how much they make and how much of that. No, you'll find out 2 years later that they haven't even been paid for the events. Look at Karate Combat.
True. Yeah, this is
So,
true. Yeah, so I mean, I guess a little bit nebulous on all of that, perhaps, but that is the prevailing narrative, at least, is that Andrew Tate is the owner of this promotion now.
yeah, and listen, it doesn't change anything for me. I think it's hilarious. I mean, I just really can't get over. I mean, it would have been hilarious for him to get knocked out. It would have been hilarious for him to lose convincingly. But is it better or I mean, I find it far more hilarious that you watch somebody and Chase Demore. I mean, granted, he's a boxer. He's fine. I mean, he could listen, whatever you want to say.
I mean, he was okay.
Andrew Tate lost to one of the worst people out of all the boxers that we've seen this entire weekend. What does that say for him? You know, like
Right.
it's not like Anderson Silva would have went in here and lost to Chase Demore. You know what I'm saying? Like a credentialed mixed martial artist knows like boxing at an older age feels right because I'm losing a lot of my skill set and my athleticism. Let me use less of the weapons. You know, I can just move my hands. You know, boxing is
Right.
old people could do that. Andrew Tate, you failed to showcase that. You know, if you didn't look good at this point, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I mean, so that was my whole thing, right? When people are asking me what I thought was going to happen before this fight took place, I was saying, well, Andrew Tate has combat sports experience. He is a kickboxer. He is, I mean, belts aside, fuck the belts, whatever. I put much stock in that. But this was his life for a period of time, theoretically at least. Now, granted, that era of his life is somewhat nebulous as well, right? I mean, I think a lot of the facts are a little bit nebulous surrounding this guy if you really dig down deep into it. The things that we know are not great. The things that we don't know, how true are any of them is kind of, it's always what I think about when it comes to a guy like this. The perception is reality for these people in a big way. But Demore, a guy who I don't think had much boxing experience before Misfits, from what I understand. It should have been a somewhat even playing field, I would think. And now Demore comes in and did not look great in this fight. I mean, like what I had said during the fight was I was like, if Demore actually had like a higher level of technicality, he probably could have finished this fight. Tate was slow. He was not throwing accurately. He was not throwing effectively. And he gassed very early into this thing. What was this? A 6-round fight? Yeah. I mean, by round 3 at latest, this dude was already huffing and puffing really heavily. So, I mean, this Demore guy probably could have gotten himself a really nice highlight. 29 years old. This could have been something that he really could have, had on the mantelpiece as like his big achievement, but he's not that great either. So, again, much like Jake Paul before him, these are not cons because you do get what you really always should have been expecting, but these guys are snake oil salesmen in a way where it's like they're selling you a fight that is never going to happen, and this level of fighting is what you really should be expecting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can't I just can't get over how embarrassing this was for everybody involved. You know, Darren Till, I don't know if you noticed, he was at the event for the first portion of it and then he got up and left.
Oh, did he?
Yes, and he interviewed about it and I actually think some people are brutally honest, but you really have to just respect him for it. Like he said, what am I watching? Like I'm unlearning boxing as I watch this, and it's like, dude, you're cooking. You're so cooking,
For
and
real.
I don't know, dude. Like it genuinely hurt to witness a lot of what I was seeing.
Sure, definitely within the fighting, that was absolutely the case. And also, I was kind of given a little bit too much credit, I think, to the production because one thing that was very, very annoying on this card was there were times where they had pacing issues. We talk about pacing. I it's funny over the course of this show. It really was you, Chase, who put me on to like acknowledging the pacing as much. We're on stream often when we're watching these things, having conversations, we're doing other stuff, whatever. Like we can kind of keep our own pace, and then the fights happen, and we just sort of watch. With this, considering what was in my chat during this and the pacing, it was so so abundantly clear how poor that was. Like there were times where they were showing clips of the table interviews, and then it's podcasting time with the hosts and the co-hosts and everything. And I'm sitting there like, just get this shit over with. If this had been the pacing of a regional MMA event, I wouldn't have felt any which way about that. You know, it'd have been like, all right, well, cool, that fight sucked. Let's move on to the next one. Keep it moving, keep it moving. But there were these long, extended periods of time with nothing happening on top of boxing where very little was happening.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Boxing is after this weekend, I've said it before and I'll say it again, boxing is just not for me. I know some people out there apparently still enjoy this. I personally don't know any of new younger people that are telling me that I need to be watching boxing. Like, hey, I have my I'm a big fan of such and such, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, Jake Paul, genuinely have never walked out and about and have heard or seen people wear t-shirts of boxers on them other than fucking Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. Like it's just not a modern thing to enjoy in my opinion. And I
No,
think there are far better combat sports out there.
I certainly agree. And now, this really to me kind of like, I'm glad that we're talking about them together and like that they happen sort of like in this kind of time frame, because I really do feel like with Jake Paul, as I had said, it's sort of the end of, you could call it an era. I mean, for lack of a better word, I suppose. But like, the Jake Paul experiment, I feel came to an end with the Anthony Joshua fight. This influencer sphere as well, I don't think that there is really anything to sink your teeth into, even with Tony being in there or like having other MMA fighters going over, crossing over into it. Like, I guess the question for me, and I sort of already, I ask it knowing the answer, is like, do you watch more of this? Do you engage in more of this? And to me, based on the entertainment value and the names that are involved in it, I think the answer is probably no. Yeah, there might be time. Like, I'm not going to say never. I mean, if there's a boxing, I watch Canelo Crawford on the stream. I mean, like, I will watch a very, very high level boxing match if it is like the top of the sport. But that's really the best that you're getting out of me when it comes to boxing at this point. There's just not enough there to enjoy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've said it before, and then I'll say it again, and I think it's a great segue into what we have next. Boxing these days, it's just too outdated. There's only two forms that eh, three forms if you want to necessarily get specific that I think are acceptable. I think celebrity style boxing makes sense. Don't tell me you are the greatest professional boxer ever if you are doing what the celebrities are doing. I think the celebrities are fine doing that because that's a tame version of what we need to be seeing in combat sports. If you are a professional boxer and you think you are the best in the world, you either need to compete in bare knuckle or dirty boxing. And these are the only options here because I'm tired of seeing people tell me that they're the greatest boxer ever, and when I watch them go up against a mixed martial artist on 6 months of boxing, arguably he beats the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time and gets robbed in Francis Ngannou. Like it's just shit like that that just makes you not care about boxing because it just doesn't fucking matter. Like the people that are good at boxing now are the people who were decent at mixed martial arts and they said, "Oh, I can do this. Like what I can fucking do that." Are you telling me I can just do that and not get my ass grappled for 20 minutes, Easy. Darren Till, great example. Mike Perry, I know it's different cuz he's in bare knuckle, but it's boxing. If you are the top level boxer, go to bare knuckle and show me that you are a if you are so good at boxing, do it bare knuckle. If you don't think you're going to get hit that often, if you are so good at the art of boxing, you can, you know what to counter, you know how to pull counter, you know how to do, throw combinations, do it bare knuckle. If you are that good at boxing, you need to prove it to me in a risky sport. I'm tired of 12 rounds of nothing in boxing, 8 rounds of nothing in boxing. I have the heavyweight guy who's an Olympic gold medalist going 6 rounds with a TikToker. That should not happen.
Yeah. No, I couldn't have said it better, Chase. I agree with you entirely, which is, like you said, a very nice segue into what we will bookend this event or this span of events with here. This is, of course, Bare Knuckle had their fight night at Mohegan Sun, kind of running concurrent with the Misfits boxing card. So I didn't get to catch every single fight on here, but I will say that after sitting through back to back influencer boxing events, this was a beautifully welcomed, refreshing return to form. Watching people actually engage, watching some legitimately good fights, and they were. The ones that I got to see were pretty high value, I would say. So, just to take you through a little bit of what I got to witness here, I believe I came in right at this fight here. This the Guilherme Viana versus Aleem Whitfield fight. So there was two fights before that that I unfortunately did not get to see. But
DQ repeated eye pokes. Goodness
that I'm
gracious.
glad you picked up on that because I did. I was like, man, I wish that I had been able to see that one. That sounds like there was definitely some more to that fight than what the text is saying. I'd like to have seen how that actually went down. And considering that I do have at least a couple more weeks of a monthly pass to the BKFC app now, I guess I could go back and rewatch that fight. So maybe I will.
Yeah, it
But
looks like there was a lot of finishes on here.
yes, there were a couple of really good ones here. So yes, Guilherme Viana got a nice finish in round two. All of these fights are 5 round fights. I did not realize that that was the format for bare knuckle, but yeah, maybe I'd known that in the past and then just didn't like retain it. But yeah, 5 rounds, all of them 5 minute rounds, I believe,
Hmm.
and that I think it's five, either 5 or 4, but either way, yeah, Viana got a nice finish there in the second. Kind of came in the middle of it, so I didn't really like get to see all of the action of it. But this is the one that I really wanted to start off with. This Rico DeJulo. DeJulo still undefeated, I believe. Am I right about that? I think so.
I can double check for you. No, he's 11-2.
11-2. Okay, I think that those the losses might have been either before bare knuckle or uh, he has 2 losses in bare knuckle. Is that what it says?
No, that was his second bare knuckle fight, and he won both of them.
Okay, so yeah, so he is undefeated in bare knuckle right now.
Oh yes, okay, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to double check for my own sake because he is a person. Actually, shout out to Checkmate MMA and the guys over at Fight Show. He was on Fight Show at one point. I did an interview with those guys. Seems like a great dude. Philly guy, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's out there in that region, and very Italian dude, very traditional Italian guy, and goes in there and throws hands. I mean, he came in and bombed Stash
Stash the
Koyahendo.
Flash.
Stash the Flash. Yeah, Stash got flashed. That was yeah. Rico came in here and it was quick. I mean, it was a round one knockout, 2 minutes total in that fight. Did the damn thing. I mean, like this guy Rico has got some pretty good hands. Throws a little wild, I would say, but like makes it work. Like he kind of essentially exactly what you were just saying, Chase. Where it's like if you really are that good of a boxer, go and do it in bare knuckle. He kind of reminds me of that a little bit, where like he's got a very wide boxing stand, like he's got like the traditional trappings of a boxer. Like so, it's like because a lot of times bare knuckle, these guys are very tight with the guard. They are they're not really the stance isn't overly wide. Like they really are more like rock'em sock'em robots. Like they go in close range and just start throwing hands. Rico sort of like moves a little bit more like a traditional boxer, and he'll wing overhand shots occasionally where I'm like, damn, dude, that's a wild shot to try to like make land accurately, but then somehow he gets the job done. So I mean, I like Rico DeJulo. He's a dude that I'd say in bare knuckle, keep an eye on that guy.
Nice.
Next up was the ladies. This was Gabrielle Roman versus Crystal Van Vyk. She is a South African who fights out of Florida. So we were saying she needs to go Florida lady. She did not do that. The fight was not bad. It was only another first round finish, but it kind of ended a little wonky because Van Vyk ended up getting a cut on her eye, like right, essentially like on the inside, basically right where the nose and the eye meet. There was a cut there. It did not seem like a fight ending cut. I mean, like, I don't think any other doctor outside of this doctor would have ended the fight because of the cut if you had seen it. But this doctor, for whatever reason, thought that cut was too much for Crystal to continue. So Crystal did not she was not allowed to continue this fight. Both fighters were very upset about this, and they hugged at the end. They were like, "Man, that really sucks," and they were both very good sports about everything. So I do want to shout out Roman as well. But I don't think that she was super happy with that win, considering how it went down. But it is what it is.
Yeah, no, that damn, this looks like a pretty good card so far, man. Damn, I might have to go
No,
rewatch this.
yeah, this was not bad. I want to say this was, like I said, a really nice, refreshing return to like actual combat sports. Yeah,
2 minute rounds, 5 2 minute rounds.
5 2-minute rounds. So then,
Yeah,
how did
five
this
times
one
two.
go to? How did this go to 4 minutes?
Total four
Oh,
minutes.
is that total
Yeah,
fight time?
yes,
Oh, my bad. Okay, I
yes,
was looking at the wrong thing there. 2 minute
no,
rounds.
yeah,
Okay, I
yes.
apologize. Thank you for checking on that. Okay, so then yeah, moving on here. This
Well,
was
because I was looking at the split decisions, and I was sitting here thinking, like, holy shit, these dudes went 5 5 minute rounds and got a split decision in bare
yeah,
knuckle. Like, these
and
dudes must be fucking crazy.
I
Like,
was gonna say, saying it back, yeah, 5 minute rounds, and that does sound, that's, yeah, 25 minutes of bare knuckle. That is a little bit ridiculous. My bad. I
no,
apologize for that, my
you're
guys.
good.
So yeah, this next one was Navarro versus Sanchez, Lardy Navarro versus Anthony Sanchez. This was one of the not great fights on this card, if I recall. This was they were just hugging throughout the entirety of this thing, and in bare knuckle, this is exactly what you do not want to see. You do not want to see these guys out here clinching up at every chance. They literally would have 2 seconds of throwing individual strikes each, and then they would just clinch up, and then they would break
Nice.
and clinch up and break and clinch up. I think this was Mergliata who was reffing this thing. He had his work cut out for him in this one, just having to say, "Hey, yeah, come on, back it up, back it up, back it up." So this was not great, and I say that more so to set up another decision that was on this card as well. Which we can actually even just skip ahead a little bit to it. Why not? This Peter Barrett versus Trevor Bradshaw. This fight was great. This was another decision. This is another split decision here. But this fight, if you are going to go to a split decision in bare knuckle, that's how you want it to be done. You want it to be two guys going for it the entirety of it, and they just both happen to be tough motherfuckers who are not letting themselves get knocked out. So shout out to Barrett and to Bradshaw for making that fight what it should have been. And Navarro and Sanchez did not do that in the slightest. So we move on
Good
from them.
contrast.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay. Gary Bellato Jr. versus Skylar Mauler. You'd think with a name like Mauler, this guy would come out here and be mauling motherfuckers. No, Mauler was he was out of his element, which was very apparent because Gary Bellato Jr. he might be the most casual, relaxed, cool, calm, collected bare knuckle boxer I have ever seen in my life. This guy came in here looking like he had rolled out of bed. Everything's good. He's stretching a little bit before the fight. Like this dude's face and demeanor did not change throughout all of this, and he was annihilating Mahler. This is another one where I was like, bro, why are you still in this fight? Like you just tap out at some point, brother. Like you are going to get yourself way more hurt. There's no reason for you to be continuing. That's how it ended up getting. This is only 2 rounds of a fight here, and then I
Yeah.
was already feeling that way. You know, Mahler was not doing any actual output, and Bellato Jr. was just easily, effortlessly, and very casually tearing this dude apart. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah. No, that one sounds pretty good.
Yeah, that was definitely a great one. Um, so moving over, we'll skip over the Barrett and Bradshaw fight because, like I said, it was a very tough fight between those two guys. Great performances on both sides. Split decision was warranted. Barrett getting the nod, perfectly fine. Everything went fine in that fight. Moving on to your co-main event, Pat Casey versus David Sanchez. I felt very bad for my guy David Sanchez here because he had the story that is the prototype story. He's a recovering addict. He's a dude who was homeless for a while. You know, he went through very rough times. You know, a guy who turned his life around and did it through, I guess, bare knuckle boxing, through combat sports in general, whatever. But he is in here fighting for his life essentially. You know, he's one of those stories where it's like this is what this guy does to survive. You lose me. Hello.
Interesting. We are going through some interesting issues
Eh,
tonight, but
we all
go ahead
good?
and continue your story. Yes, we are good.
Okay. Yeah. So, Pat. Yeah. So I was saying David Sanchez. You know, a guy who this is not him in here to to play around. He's not larping as a
Mhm.
fighter. This dude is fighting for his life in here. Pat Casey, on the other hand, though, he was the more skilled and heavier striker. He was definitely doing the better work, and him getting the round one finish it goes that way sometimes, man. So I do give a lot of credit to Sanchez. Congratulations on getting your life turned around and being a better man on the other side of some hard times and all of that. But you got to give it to Pat Casey because he came in here to do the damn thing. He understood the assignment and took it very seriously. Took it right to my guy Sanchez here.
Yeah, it looked like a quick finish, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it sucks because they kept doing like the testimonial clips and like interview footage and stuff of him, and it was like, oh man, the story resonates with me. I want to root for this guy, but it was not to be. Our recovering addict king did not pull through on this one.
True, true.
And then the final fight of this thing, your main event, was a name that you might be familiar with, Parker Porter. He was going up against a guy named Anthony Garrett, and this fight was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
This was
that
really
Nav
good.
told me to go back and watch this one, so I think I might have to actually get this one on the docket for you guys.
Yes, I would highly recommend checking out this fight. Drops on both sides. These guys were winging. I mean, not winging shots in like a wild way. They were just out there to throw. I don't know Anthony Garrett. I guess maybe he's a dude who has some other fights in bare knuckle. Seen definitely looked the part as far as his performance went and all of that. But Parker Porter coming in, getting dropped at one point, coming back. I think that Parker Porter actually got dropped twice, I believe, in the first round. It's hard for me to remember all of the details of like who was who because it was going back and forth so much. But like Parker Porter ends up getting dropped. He drops Garrett, then Garrett ends up dropping him again. I think two. I think he got dropped 3 times total in this fight. Parker Porter did. Came back every single time. It looked at times that looked like that he was not going to be able to continue. I was like, I cannot believe that he still has his wits about him to keep on going in this fight. But somehow this guy Parker Porter ended up pulling out the victory. This fight was really, really awesome. This was such a nice way. Like I said, after all that we've gone through with all the influencer bullshit, this is what it's all about. This is
This
what it's
is
all about.
this was a nice way to close the book, huh? You like this one?
I did. This was a nice way to close the book. This was a nice way to remind me in a time where I felt a little bit lost after the influencer stuff. I was like, man, this is not the road that I want to be taking Yama and all of this kind of stuff. BKFC. That's where we come back to as like a home base kind of thing. UFC for MMA, things like BKFC for boxing, one for Muay Thai and all that kind of stuff. Actual combat sports are what we care about, and that is what we are going to continue on forward with when it comes to Yama and last week's fights.
I find this very interesting, and I don't know if anybody knew this, but according to Topology, uh, Parker Porter's third pro mixed martial arts bout. Take a wild guess who it was against.
I couldn't. What Jairzinho Rosenstrike?
It's the goat of our sport.
Oh, Shamil?
No, wow, that's the goat. No, John Jones.
Oh, really? I didn't know
In
that.
2008, John Jones finished Parker Porter with a punch in round one.
In UFC?
Not in UFC. This is WCF 3.
Oh, that's pre-UFC. Wow, interesting. I'm telling you, man, if you go back through these guys' records, like even you think of like how big the world is, how many regions, how many
Hmm.
promotions there are. These guys cross paths a whole hell of a lot. Remember, I forget who it was. We were talking on the last time that we did predictions. I had said like, some dude in like he had a fight with somebody mad random that like it was like how could these guys have even like paired up? But this is just how the sport works.
No, the ones that are weirder, and we've had this happen very recently. I can't remember his name, but we've literally had people who have competed in mixed martial arts bouts against pro wrestlers. Like Bobby Lashley has like a current win against somebody on the UFC roster right now. Like it's pretty crazy to me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that there's a couple that are like that. Yeah, I mean Matt Riddle, a guy who he was a wrestler, but like
Yeah.
a freestyle wrestler. But yeah, I mean there's a couple of guys that they cross those paths. Big in Japan, obviously that was a huge thing back in the Pride era. The overlap of pro wrestling and MMA was very strong back then, and yeah, I mean as these sports continue to progress independent of one another, I would think that there's probably going to be more of that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. But either
So
way, yeah, this was a fun weekend for boxing. All in all, I guess it was different, change of pace.
yeah, and I was very happy that we ended. I was dead tired watching this BKFC card, but I'm so glad that I stuck it out for this because, like I said, it recentered all of my feelings about my love of combat sports and my enjoyment of them, which were slightly shaken, I would say, by some of the influencer bullshit.
Yeah, I can hear you, but don't let it get you down. Like you said, we're here for the fights, and then we're here to talk about the fights. That's all we're here for. Nothing extra, no BS.
That is absolutely the case. So, all of that being said, that is the docket. That's the smattering of events that we have to go over for this episode. So, what I will say is that, of course, next week is the last Monday of 2025, and because of that, myself and Chase are cooking up our year-end spectacular. Last week's fights, year-end review here. We are going to be putting all of the pieces together throughout the week to make sure that we've got a good Monday show for you with our best of lists and all of those kinds of things. So if you want to have any say about some of the things that we talk about, if you are a member of the Discord, make sure that you chime in. We're going to be posting some posts about it. We're going to be getting some of your feedback on some of these things, and we will be coming back on Monday to review this whole year basically. So we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the best of the year, and we want to know what you have to think, what you have to say about it, what you think about it. So if you're not already a member of the Discord, join up and make your opinions known.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to get into the end of the year recap, and there's a lot of good things that we get to talk about, and a lot of good moments we get to relive. So make sure you're there, and of course, if you don't have time to stop in the Discord, make sure you can leave a comment on these videos, on the replays, and/or during the live streams, and just let us know anything that you forgot and/or that we need to make sure we do not miss. So always keep in touch with us.
Absolutely. And of course, besides the year end review, there's always new stuff coming around the corner. We were just talking about our next round of MMA on film, which we've been teasing for a while. So we're getting all of the details ready for that. So keep an eye out for that. New video on the channel out now about the altercation between influencer Jack Doherty and Andre Arlovsky, where two very strange worlds colliding with that. So you can check that out on the Yama channel. This week as well, I am definitely planning on doing the next installment of Laughing at Bryce Mitchell. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to go through another full episode of the Ark Insanity podcast together so we can hear all of the fun things that Bryce has to say and respond to all of that. So there's plenty coming out. We might do a Friday show this week as well. Always something. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're liking everything. And we will catch up with you on the other side. Chase, anything else?
No, I think that's it. This was a good episode. I'm glad we got to get together for another Monday and we made it another good Monday.
Indeed. Same here. Make sure that you follow on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook at Yama Show. Chase, where can they follow you and all your stuff?
YouTube.com/@CP Smalls. Yep, and it'll be a good one, of course. I'm not too active on Twitter anymore, but you can always catch me on there at Creative Parton, PARTIN.
There you go. Make sure you follow my boy everywhere. And that's all we got for you tonight, everybody. Thank you very much for going through these cards with us. As always, we appreciate you. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.